to the April 15th meeting of the Weare Board of Selectmen. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Oh, I guess we'll wait for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Is it up?
We're good to go. All right. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, so we put on towards the tail, I say toward the tail. We got a couple of things to do, and we're going to have the community input for the police chief and staffing after the public hearing at 6:45. So as of right now, though, if there's any other pressing issues you'd like to talk about, we have public comment.
Frank Campana. It is not a comment, it's a question, so your discretion, you can let it go by the wayside. I asked a question at the deliberative session. I have the minutes from last week when you signed, to purchase the skid steer. And it came in quite a bit less than what you originally asked for, the 80,000 or so, or 70,000.
70. Yep.
So it came in less than the 50,000, which was raised by taxation. And I asked the question, it was in regards to the truck at that time, what happens if you don't spend the total dollar amount? So my question is the same. What happens you're not spending the total $50,000? You're spending about $9,000 less. And what happens to that money? The response was at the deliberative session, well, you only get taxed on what you spend. Okay, but I don't understand. You're still asking me as a taxpayer for $50,000. You're spending $41,000. You're spending $40,000. So what happens to the extra $10,000 that I'm paying in taxes?
Right. I don't believe it gets taxed, correct?
No, so what happens, I can
Yep,
try.
Again, it's not a quick question. I really don't understand.
So what happens is we ask for 50.
Correct.
So when it comes down in October and we go down through the expenses for the warrant articles, we add that together, and instead of 50 in that expense column, only 4128 goes in there.
Okay.
So you're only taxed for the $41,028, not the 50,000.
Okay.
It's not like taking 50 and giving you back 10.
All right.
It's not how it really works.
Okay.
We add up the expenditures because other articles work the same way.
Pardon me?
Other articles may work the same way.
Yeah. Well, again, I asked in regards to the truck. At that time.
So the truck will be the same way. I think we
Right.
asked for a certain
And I
amount.
looked.
And if the bids come in, I don't remember if we've got them all yet, but if they're less, you're only going to be charged for what the total expense was, not the $215.
Right, and I think it will be less. I took notes that night when you discussed the truck. I looked for the minutes, but they were not posted of that meeting.
Okay.
They were not posted yet because I don't think you delayed.
It'll work the same way, though.
Okay.
The expense is what you paid for. You're not going to pay the $215 and then we play
Okay.
taking and giving back.
Okay.
It's just the total.
All right, good, thanks.
Yep.
I'll try to remember that next year.
Okay.
Or next year.
Any other public comment? Okay.
You could take up the Wordley Road one only because that really
Yeah.
has no time frame.
Right, exactly. Art.
And Art's here.
And we, actually, do you have any department head committee items?
No.
Okay.
Is everybody signed in? Did it go back over here? Everybody? Did everybody sign in?
Yes.
Thank you.
I can read this, or do you want to read it? I'll just start in and just
Yeah, go ahead.
explain what.
Yep.
Okay, so I'm Art Siciliano. I'm representing William and Christine Weiss. They own property on Worthley Hill Road, and it's on, the property's on a Class 6 road. And,
Could you speak up, please?
okay, and we went for a variance to allow a home to be built on this property, and we received the variance with conditions. And then I went to the planning board with this, with the proposal, and they had some conditions also. So I can go through those, and then the next step for us to do is to get your permission, the selectmen's permission to do the work on the road, to construct the driveway.
Okay.
So the second sheet shows the property, and the orange is what needs to be improved on Worthley Hill Road, and in green is the lot. Page 3 shows the variance and the conditions. One of the conditions is that the road gets posted. Condition 2 has to do with signing the Town of Weare liability disclaimer. Condition 3 is that they construct the road to the driveway, it's basically a driveway, to town regulations. And number 4 was to comply with 911 signage. So those are the conditions for the variance. And then when the planning board reviewed everything, and they, on page 4, it shows a list of things that they want. They called it a roadway, it's really a driveway, but, because it's to one house, basically. So. And they list their, all topsoil and stumps are to be cleared for 16-foot wide area. Ledge and boulders removed. Certified soil scientist brought in to examine wetlands that may cross the Worthley Hill Road, and the 12-inch base and 6 inches of top coat of gravel is needed. So the Weisses are in agreement with all these conditions, and we just need the selectmen's approval to do that construction on town road.
I'm looking at the draft art. I wasn't there at the planning board that night, November. But it says, according to the 16-foot wide area, ledge and boulders removed to 18 feet subgrade. It doesn't say inches.
Didn't say what?
This doesn't say inches, it has like 18 feet. And it says 12-foot base gravel, 6-foot top coat gravel.
Yeah, those
I
are,
think that has
those
to-
are
I
inches.
think it's a misprint.
Those are inches.
I mean, before we go any further, this is from Craig, so I mean,
Yeah.
this is his email, so I think.
Those are
we'd have to-
typos, but yeah, I mean,
I think before we go any further, we'd have to check. be
Plus,
sure with
can I
him.
just, if you look at the minutes, you couldn't find them. Because I did
I know.
find that, it was blended in with somebody else's, approval.
this, yeah, and that's what, and
And-
Craig
and-
says it in his, he says it's a draft.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
I think you selectmen could, in your minutes, you could say that those are inches instead of feet. However you want to do it. You're right, it wasn't in the minutes, I don't know what happened,
well, I
but Craig.
found his email, and then I looked in the minutes,
It's-
and
yeah.
it's behind the Granite State
Mm-hmm.
Recycling. They talked about Granite State Recycling, and then they finished with this approval, which I didn't understand.
Maybe it's the way the minutes were typed, I guess.
Right,
I don't know.
and they're still in draft, so they haven't been fixed yet.
Well, they must have been reviewed at one point in
They haven't.
December. I wasn't obviously here, but,
Yeah, I'm not sure,
I
it
mean,
still says draft.
if they approved the minutes the way they were, then they had a problem, obviously.
They do.
Craig should have, okay, Craig should have made those corrections in a December meeting or whatever they were gonna,
He also made the same typo on the 12 feet of base gravel and 6 feet of top coat gravel.
That's what I'm saying right here, so,
That's
Well, I
18
just added
feet.
inches.
That's,
yeah.
that's quite a bit.
well, it's a typo.
Yeah.
It's all,
Pretty sure that he meant inches.
Yeah, but
I guess maybe if you do agree to them doing this, you could just kind of rewrite these and
Specify,
get them
yeah.
correct
Mhm.
here rather than go back to the planning board.
There's a house already out here, correct?
The house is on.
Which lot number?
lot
23?
23, right at the curve there, just at the beginning of the orange,
Okay.
south end of the orange.
So then you're gonna go another 1,300 feet?
Yes.
Well, sorry, let me just take over. We received an email from the fire department back in February that talked about East Shore Drive. It was all on the same one, East Shore Drive, Sawyer Road, and Worthley Road. On Worthley Road, it says, in contrast to the streets discussed previously, which are Sawyer Road and East Shore Drive, the Class 6 portion of Worthley Road is undeveloped. Therefore, the Board of Fire Wards believes that allowing development of the substandard unmaintained portion of the road should not be permitted unless the owner/applicant agrees to upgrade the road for reclassification as Class 5. That was, because the fire department, if you put someone out there, you're almost, it's a long ways, it's 1,300 more feet to get a fire truck there.
That's the issue I have. You're narrowing a Class 6 road up to driveway specifications when there's still lots in beyond this lot that you're requesting for. And I don't think that's a wise move.
The current width, I think, is what, 22 feet?
Yeah, it did get downsized from
They
24.
It was
They
24, and they
downsized it to a
downsized it
driveway
to
spec,
22.
and that's not,
Right.
that's a,
Right.
I mean, there are private residences that have driveways longer than this, so. This has to be built.
I'm not worried about driveways that. It's a Class 6
It's just a
road,
road.
and there's still lots in beyond this lot.
Right.
What happens if they're gonna be developed down the road somewhere? We don't know that.
No, we don't.
And I don't agree with a 16-foot or 12-foot width road. I just don't agree with it.
Do they
That's
also
my- that's
own
my opinion.
250? They also own 250, which that must have access on Guy's Lane? Lot 250?
Yes.
But are they going to be selling 250 when they build 171?
Pardon?
Are they going to sell 250 when they build 171?
I don't know what they're doing. They don't abut, so they can't really get across or
Right.
anything. So you're saying it's not wide enough? That's what you're,
That's my
Issue
opinion.
is-
I just don't agree with narrowing it down to a 12-foot driveway.
well,
When you're gonna have other people, and like the fire department says, you got fire trucks going in and out of there, possibility. I just don't agree with narrowing it down. I think it should be built up to
22 feet.
yeah, but if you're
At least-
talking here about bringing it up to Class
dirt,
5.
roadway specs.
All right, do you know what the approximate width is between the stone walls as it stands now?
33 feet
Okay.
approximately, yeah.
Which is probably the town's right away.
Yeah,
Right.
it's
Three
that'd be a
road.
two-road road then.
Yeah.
Two-run road. That's what I figured. Yeah, can you read the Board of Fire Wards again?
Yeah, it says, in contrast to the streets previously discussed, Class 6 portion of Worthley Road is undeveloped. Therefore, the Board of Fire Wards believes that allowing development on the substandard/unmaintained portion of the road should not be permitted unless the owner/applicant agrees to upgrade the road for the reclassification as a Class 5.
Okay. All right.
It's going to be 22
You
feet.
got two other boards that agree that, I mean,
Yeah,
have come up with
I
some,
understand that.
saying it's okay what we're
Mhm.
doing, but
What's the board think? I think I've heard one already. We've heard the Board of Fire words.
I'm inclined to agree with John.
I don't wanna see us in the situation like we have on some other roads that are not, using as a driveway spec, and it's actually a
Right.
Class 6 town road, and then later on, we're gonna end up with a road that's 12 feet wide.
Doesn't make sense.
16 here, saying.
Oh, you gotta clear it for 16. Oh, 16.
No, they gotta put 16.
Put
It
16,
has
it's
to be
still
a
basically.
driveway that's 16 feet wide.
Yeah. So, it's, I'm not saying we have to go 33, but I think we gotta follow the rules, those town roads back for 22.
Well, the concern is who owns the property and
I mean, we're
above
gonna
them?
have,
172.
and then what's gonna happen is, I'm looking at the fact that the other lots that are joined, like, 24, 24.1, 25.250, 251.
Those
Well, those are all off,
Those are
those
Guy's
are all off
Lane.
of Guy's Lane.
Doesn't mean that they can't apply and put a driveway in the back end. That's
True.
the other
Right.
issue.
Yeah.
I mean, or 23, or further up, 154. I mean, you're gonna go-
172.
I mean, you can go all the way up, and, and then stay to the same standard, no, because now it's turned into like
yeah.
a developed area.
How far up
So
is,
that's-
how
yeah.
far up is the driveway for lot 23 from the end of the Class 6, the end of the Class 5?
To that.
I think it goes, it probably ends at, what is that, Hillcrest? Or maybe just past Hillcrest. See where that 22 is, maybe, see where it's wider there.
So 23 is not developed?
23 is
23 has
developed.
the house on
There's
it.
a house on 23.
There's a
Okay.
house in
Yes, he came before the board.
It's on the bend.
I think he improved the
Oh, I
road
can see
too,
it stops
from
right there.
wherever it
Right
was
there it
to.
stops.
He thinks it's here,
Mhm.
the driveway into this lot.
Yeah, but that's where it stops, right there. You can see the difference in the road.
Oh,
You
right
also
there
have
by,
22.
22.1.
it's, yeah, narrows down.
22.1, it narrows down a little bit. Okay.
You also have to look at this, this is a driveway for one lot. It may be other lots, but it's still a driveway. It's not a through road, which, that's
Can
what
be.
you want for
Right.
Can be,
22.
but it's still
22
a
feet.
town, it's still a
Because you
town
can
right
still
away.
take a vehicle out through there if you wanted to.
When? Right
You
now?
can. You can take, I said if you wanted to. If you wanted to go off-road in your Jeep, you could drive through there because it's town-owned, it's not maintained. So it's still town road. So it is through.
Wherever
You're
it
gonna
ends
come
up.
out-
Yeah,
you're
but I
gonna come
mean,
out
there's
on
not a lot
Barnardale.
of, for the amount of traffic that's really going on.
No, I'm
No.
just saying, but it can, it's town-owned, it's
Right.
a public way, it's just not maintained by us.
Right. Right.
So, they want to improve it so that one house gets to use it. Now, if somebody else wants, obviously, once it's improved, but there'll be more people
Where does,
using it, maybe to go.
where does 23 come in?
Four-wheeling.
If they've got a house on lot 23.
He
and they
comes
want-
in right at the, kinda at the bend, I think.
Yeah, but that's still class,
He came before you.
that's class 6 too. I mean, it's now we're developing,
But now we're talking
Yeah,
at
he got
least
an
1,500 feet of
yeah.
Is there,
driveway.
is there a logging operation going on down there too?
On 23, there was, yeah.
Okay, that's where the.
That's where they came in for
Yeah.
Right.
logging.
Right. But we're talking 1,500 feet of driveway, at least. For better term for emergency services to have to go up.
But I think you have to, I think we
In
need to
total.
follow up a little more, and this is just my 2 cents.
Yep, I
Because
agree.
you've got a Class 6 road that now we're gonna turn into kind of a shared driveway.
Right.
And I don't know, we made the other family up on Maplewad do something else.
Yep,
And make,
Right.
do something with a road agreement and the whole thing.
yep.
I think you need a little bit more input, maybe,
Yeah.
and maybe we could clear up the planning board thing at the same time.
I think that's probably best, because it doesn't sound like you're gonna get a vote of approval from tonight. So-
Yeah, no problem. Input from who?
I guess I would reach to Bill Drescher, who does a lot of the planning board things.
Yeah, he does the land use.
He does the land use
He's
part of
land
it.
use attorney.
Yeah, we can do that.
You know,
Let's
it's
reach
not
out
like
to
you were
him.
the first one and then 20 people beyond you build. It's a different story here. 'Cause
Right.
you're looking to be the last one, but I think we need more information from
Maybe.
somebody a little bit.
Yeah, I don't know, I
got
haven't
lot
looked
150
further on the next lot, 172, how big that is.
Yeah.
And what's beyond that.
Yeah.
Right.
Maybe it's worth taking a look at that.
Get the whole map, yeah.
Whole map.
Yeah.
Yep.
Goes all the way through the back.
I
So
think-
what do you want
I-
to do? Do you want,
I think we table it for now.
but
And-
for
and-
how long?
Well,
Don't lose sight of it.
I'm just thinking, at least gets back to us within a week as far as what Bill says.
We'll have to go to the,
Yeah.
check with what the planning board
Yeah,
did.
and maybe we can
exactly
call,
what-
maybe we can call
what was
Craig
going.
and Jack and see what they say.
Probably won't be,
Just for better verbal.
probably won't be a week or whatever.
No, it won't be a week. You'd have to do 2.
Yeah.
Okay, well,
But we've been all winter, so it's not.
Yeah.
right, okay.
So we'll table it for 2 weeks, basically,
Yeah, we can
Yep.
table 2 weeks. Sounds good to me. Sound good to the board?
Yep.
Okay,
and we'll just stay in touch.
I'll
Yep.
put together, get-
thank you. All right, we will open the public hearing, a few minutes late.
Yep, sorry.
6:50, to hear public testimony and comment regarding the expenditure up to $20,000 from the Charles and Ethel Eastman Fund for the purpose of purchasing a new gazebo for the town common. Anybody would like to speak?
Who's gonna start?
So, a little background is the current structure was deemed basically unsalvageable. There's substantial rot at the bottom of the posts that hold it up. If you look at it, you can actually see that it's starting to twist a little bit and starting to rack. So, in the thought of safety, that's why you saw, if you went through there, you saw some cross bracing for the winter that was holding it up, while the Weare Historical Society looked into different means to try and either preserve that or get back and forth as far as numbers, again, how to rebuild it, preserve it, try and change those beams, what to do. The numbers came back pretty substantial, and it was deemed by the Historical Society that it was not worth putting the money into, the current structure. So we are basically, at this point, the Charles and Ethel Eastman Fund has been gracious enough to donate to the town for a new structure there. The town of Weare, DPW, is going to do the groundwork to satisfy the warranty needs of the new building. The new building that we have been proposed has a 30-year warranty on the structure, 25 on the roof, and like I said, that they do have some requirements for the base, gravel, et cetera. So DPW is going to be doing that. So you'll see eventually that one, we did remove the plaque off of it because it was donated in 1989. We did remove the plaque off of it, saved a couple other things, moved the electricity away from it, so it's ready to be torn down. So you'll see it missing tomorrow. And in all hopes, the date of assembly is the mid-June. Is that correct? June 8th. So you'll see a new one by June 8th, which will be in time for the Patriotic Celebration. So that is the hope, and fingers crossed. That's a little bit of background on it. And we're just here to hear public hearing, again, to satisfy, again, because it's an expenditure from that account. So that's what she would want. Frank?
As you indicated, the highway department's going to do all the groundwork, taking the building down, doing the new groundwork, and I heard one of your last meetings, I think they talked about trenching for new conduit, electric service. There was quite a bit made of the conditions of the roads, and of course, a substantial bond was approved, and I think there might have been an increase in the road reconstruction money. It might have been level from last year.
It was level.
So my question is, do you think the highway department really, is that a priority to them to put time into preparing that site as opposed to fixing the roads?
My own opinion? Yes.
Well, the boards, I'd like to hear from everybody on the board.
Well, it's a safety issue, first of all. And
Well, roads are safety.
it's true, but there's children there from the school, and we
Yeah.
surely don't want that building ending up on top of some kids.
Well, don't misunderstand me. I'm not speaking to keep what's there. I'm talking about the time put in by the highway department on that project as opposed to fixing roads.
Well, right now, Frank, we're in
Mud season.
the end of mud season, which they really can't do anything on the road.
I don't know that.
What better time to have them do it?
I don't know that. Does the board, is that what Benji conveyed to you, John? that this
I
is
worked
mud
with
season.
DPW for 15, 20 years. I mean, we're in
John?
mud season. You don't rebuild roads in this time of year.
They're still
I
posted.
did
the
not,
roads.
I did not say, first of all, you know, it would be nice to hear from the DPW director, as opposed from you know, a selectman without speaking to that director. And just because it's mud season, it doesn't mean that, and I'm not a road person either, but it doesn't mean that something else can't be done to roads, even if it's trimming. Trimming brush. They trim brush, well, supposedly they trim brush all during the winter. Now there's no snow, maybe they can do a little more trim. So that's my concern.
Okay.
Is, you know, the push is to fix roads, roads in poor condition, et cetera, et cetera. We've got to have a huge bond, and now, I mean, because that's got to take, it's not something simple that, you know, time-wise, that I think the highway department, you know, has been asked to do in the past and can do in the, you know, and can do. But be nice to know how, at the end result, if they do it, how much time they spend to it, and put into it.
Okay. Anybody else like to speak? Betty, would you like to speak to this?
I defer to Tim, he has more knowledge about this than I.
Tim, would you like to speak to it?
You wanna, Ricky, you wanna read that, just so.
Yeah, I can do that.
So where do you want to go with it, Ricky, as far as?
I'm just gonna read real quickly here what the chair of the Mildred Hall Fund, Bequest Advisory Committee said. So this is from Betty Straw, the chair. At a special meeting of the committee at the Stone Memorial Building on March 28th, 2019, it was voted after due deliberation to request that up to $20,000 be paid from the Charles and Ethel Eastman Fund for the purchase and installation of, by Reed's Ferry Small Buildings, Inc., one vinyl-clad No. 2 Octagon Classic gazebo. It is 20 feet in diameter with 6 interior benches, pressure-treated tongue-and-groove roof, underlay, black architectural roof shingles, slate gray Aztec floorboards, colonial braces, B-rails with 2x2 spindles. 2 walk-through entrances, keeping the spare rail for future use if necessary. It has a 30-year warranty with the exception of the roof, which is 25, covered by the roofing manufacturer. On March 30th, 2019, the following members of the Weare Historical Society viewed a great variety of gazebos at Reed's Ferry Buildings, Inc., 3 Tracy Lane, Hudson, New Hampshire. And it goes on to list the members. These members are also involved with other groups in the town, such as Patriotic Celebration, Weare Garden Club, Selectmen, Old Home Day, Mildred Hall, Bequest Advisory Committee, Joseph Stone Fund, and all are citizens of Weare. So it was in favor from the committee. Tim?
Correct. There are some items that the Weare Historical Society will pick up as far as expenses, the crushed stone and the drainage, and some of the, with the exception of the electrical, that needs to be redone by the town, but there'll be plantings and better walkway up to the front entrance of it. Actually, we're thinking about a ramp, maybe not this year, but maybe in the years to follow. But
Is that something that maybe Reed's can build with that similar material?
this would be the concrete pavement as far as a
Even
ramp
better.
from the street up to,
Okay, from the
for
street.
ADA,
Yep,
maybe.
Yep.
inch
I
per
did-
foot
I thought it was
type thing.
actually into the gazebo, not from
No,
the
I'm
road.
sorry, I
Yep.
misled you.
From the road, okay.
And you pretty much nailed everything else.
There, again, what Tim spoke of here is that the town will be on the hook for upgrading electrical. Again, we're putting a new structure up there, so no better time to upgrade the service to actual, 2019 current building code than now. So
Well, right
that's why
now
we're
it's
doing
a hazard, so.
it. Right, and
it's got-
it's a hazard too, so
Right.
let's get rid of that, huh? So, okay. All right. I thank you.
Anything
If
else?
you got nothing else to add, I guess we're good. So. Any more comment on the public hearing for the gazebo?
Lori Davis, Buxton School Road. I, like everybody else, am concerned about taxes, but I do find that it is important for us to have a place for the town to gather. 4th of July, when we have our fireworks, a common place for us to go. We don't all come to the Board of Selectmen's meetings. We don't charge to the planning board meetings. We're not off to the school. It's the one place the town gathers. To John Osborne's point, it's a mess out there, and there's nothing the highway department can do. You know, they can't shovel mud and make it any better. We have to wait till it dries out. If they have the time and we can make this work, I think it's a wonderful project for the town.
Thank you. Anybody else? Once, twice? Okay. We'll close the public hearing at 1900. Okay. We've had the Wordley Road upgrade discussion. And I'm sure you guys are all here listening to our meeting minutes, right? No? Okay. All right. So, with public input, what?
Are you gonna make a motion or something?
Yeah.
Do we need to? Okay. All right.
Yes, we do.
All right. I'll entertain a motion. Or I'll move it. I guess I'll move it. I'll move to expend up to $20,000 from the Charles and Ethel Eastman Fund for the purpose of purchasing a new gazebo for the town common and any potential groundwork.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay. So, trying to come up with words here. We're looking for community input on the police chief. And it's been years, I'll say, not just months, and more than our chief that just left's tenure, where public opinion of the police department and the police chief has always been high, good and bad. And it's really, when it all boils back, it's a new town employee that's being hired. And board members, please correct me if I'm wrong, if I'm speaking out of turn here. It boils back to this board to hire the actual candidate and interview the candidate. But this board works for the town, and we want to know what you want to see in a new police chief. And sometimes I know that their job is very difficult. This is the first half of it, we'll say. Their job is very difficult as far as managing the officers, dealing with the heinous crimes that go on in this town that most of the Joe public doesn't know about. We did hear quite a bit of input in years past about the part-time police chief factor. And this board, at this point in time, is not entertaining a part-time police chief. We want a full-time police chief. And we want that police chief to be in town, or at least within 25 miles. We want that police chief in the community, face known. I know back, and friendly at that. I'll go back to a story. When I was just a tyke, my mother and I were in Langtots, and she tried to introduce me to the police chief, and he wanted nothing to do with me, and I was frightened of the police department. And I don't want that in this town. I don't want to have my name on this board and it be attached to a police chief that people, the residents fear, or any of our children. So, I want the chief to be out there as much as they can. I mean, they have administrative roles that they need to fulfill. It's not an easy job, and the selection process is tough. So, but again, we're only 5 members of the community here, and I'll use that as we're not, we're just like you guys out there, we have a couple of candidates that we feel are top-notch, that were brought to us by MRI, Municipal Resource Incorporated, and they really are top-notch candidates. And I've lost a little sleep over this last week, back and forth on which one would I like to select. And I think that this forum here is for the input from you guys to say, hey, I want a cop on every corner, or I want my police chief to be sitting in the office all the time. Well, that's not what I want, but maybe it's what you guys want. I don't know. So that's why we're here hosting this forum. So I guess what I will ask is that get up, state your name, the road you live on, and what you would like to see in a police chief. And that'll be, like I said, the first part, and then we will also entertain, we also have another retiree. Our code enforcement officer, Chip Meany, is retiring, and there is potential for us to, I'll say, rearrange a little bit of the staffing in that department, potentially add a position, maybe 2, part-time, full-time. But again, I mean, my take on that is I really want to hear, and again, board, please chime in. Don't let me be up on the soapbox too long here. Any dealings you guys have had over there that, and I don't mean, they were terrible. What I mean is, I went in there, come with a solution. If there was a very big problem that you encountered, we want to know about that. So that would be, I would want to hear those suggestions as far as, it seems like they're both pulling their hair out. It seems like there's not enough time between the two of them. It was delayed. And if we think that maybe another, like I said, part-time employee could help, that's what we want to do. But again, we want to hear your input. So we'll do the police chief first, or if the board's all right with it and can take 2 different style notes, maybe we can do it all at once.
Ooh, whichever works.
So don't all be scared.
One out of the way
Mike's up
first.
there. Again, I appreciate everybody for showing up, honestly.
I'm not scared.
I never figured you were.
My name is Helene Kirk. I live on Mount Dearborn Road. And is my way, I've written out what I want to say save you time and to
Oh,
keep
even
me
better.
organized.
That's why I like it.
Okay?
Yeah. Helene was first, that's all I need to know.
Okay. As you go forward, I would like to see that your final 3 candidates each spend a day in our town. He or she should spend time with the police department and visit with all the other department heads, the fire, highway, library, town clerk, school principals, etc., and get a feel of the breadth and depth of our town. There should be time for the community to come together and listen to an opening statement from the applicants, and then questions from the select board, followed by questions from the public. There should be a check sheet for the public and the select board to respond to. I bring these things forward because I attended something at the high school, and as you know, the high school is in the process of hiring a new principal. And I think a conversation perhaps with SCU 24 might help the select board put things together, since John Stark Regional High School has been working to hire a new principal and used a very open, transparent, community welcoming approach. I personally, I'm looking for a chief that's very community-minded and interacts frequently and well with all departments and does not have a personal bias or an agenda. The final candidate should run an effective, efficient department and have a caring, positive, approachable, dependable, ethical, honest, trustworthy attitude. And a bit of humor wouldn't hurt. I did bring, and I'll give it to you, Rick, a sheet that the high school had. It was open to the public. It was attended, I think, by maybe 50, 75 people. What they did after the candidates each spent a day there, they had them one after the other, and they made an opening statement, as well as they each wrote a write-up for themselves. And then there was a sheet. Now, the board first asked about 10 questions of each candidate. They were the same questions. And then the public could ask whatever questions. And the questions ranged from, in their case, how were they going to deal with two towns, getting to know two towns, to what was their approach for bullying. So, and everything in between. I thought maybe this might be of interest if you haven't seen it.
I have not.
And thank you for giving me the time.
You said you had that list? You had that list so we didn't have to write it down? Perfect. Thank you. Anybody else? Yes, sir.
Hi, my name's Gary Gavin from River Road. I was a policeman for 26 years, and let me first say I applaud the board for not falling into the retired guy trap, okay? Because there's no way you can be a police chief in this town at 32 hours. It's just too busy. So, with that being said, I think we've made a leaps and bounds above some of the other towns that have fallen into that. I think you have a lot of good officers in this town. I think that they really need a police chief to, a lot of them are very young. They need a police chief that's going to mentor them and guide them and show them how to do the right thing the right way. I know that you probably, through MCI, you've probably gotten a lot of out-of-town, out-of-state interest in this. People that are certainly probably qualified on paper, there's no doubt in my mind. But let me just tell you this. From experience, I can tell you that they're going to tell you what you want to hear. But you cannot police Weare, New Hampshire, like you do Bridgewater, Connecticut, or some of the bigger towns in Massachusetts. It may sound all impressive. Wow, this guy can handle all this. He can do all this. You can't police Weare, New Hampshire like that. You want somebody that's going to fall into the fold as a police chief that we're looking for. Same thing with Manchester Police. You can't police Weare like you do Manchester. It's a totally different beast. And you say, well, the laws are set up so that this is how you police it and this is how they teach you at the academy. The academy is a building block, a stepping stone. And then common sense and discretion is how you work with the town in order to build a good relationship with the townspeople. It's the bottom line. You're setting yourself up for failure. And I think that part of the problems that we've had here is they've always gone with, oh, look at this, got this flashy guy, he's going to do this, going to do that. And they're really not 100% buying into it and not there where the officers need them. They need to be mentored. And again, I will reiterate, you got some really good officers here, and I've had a lot of interactions with them, and them not knowing who I am, not meaning that I'm any different than any other resident, but I can usually tell for an officer's demeanor, the attitude, the whole thing. I think what we deserve, I can tell you that the people in this town deserve to have a good police department and to be able to rely on them and have faith in them, that they're out there doing the right thing. It's a tough job. It's a much tougher job than when I was doing it. I've been out of it for a few years now. Selectman Meeting knows me very well. It's a totally different beast from what it was a few years back. So my big input would be try to get somebody who's local. There's a lot of talent out there. It may be a junior guy who's up in the ranks from another department and has got some experience, has got a level head, and is willing to listen to the people and willing to guide the people that he's in command of. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Lori Davis, Buxton School. I agree with what the gentleman just said. People in Weare have a very interesting philosophy of this town, and that is we have larger numbers, but by and large, we think of ourselves as a very small town. And when I first moved here, I used to live in Dunbarton. I also have lived in Chicago, so I've had a few ways of balancing things. And I've watched the progress and the train wrecks of Weare. But the fact of the matter is, the people of Weare that I've met, and I myself, would love a police chief that is actually out there hi, nice to see you, knows you by name. Andy of Mayberry would be really good here. It'd be nice to have a police chief that has a program, that has women bring their daughters, their nieces, their nephews to teach us a little bit about how to be a little more aware of our presence in the world, because the world has changed. We have some wonderful officers, and we've had a lot of interesting things and a lot of legal bills going on, so we need a police chief that can think fiscally responsibly, but can also know his HR. You need to know all about the laws for personnel. If you've got a person that's a problem, we don't need to spend expensive tons of money on somebody. There are ways to move people out if there's a problem, but we do have wonderful people, and somehow we need to utilize them. The younger ones that are coming in, very friendly. We want to make sure that they stay here and they feel friendly with us. This town is very warm and engaging when they meet our new fire people, our highway people, our police department. We want to know these people. But I think, again, it's important. The point of meeting them and having them up in public for us to ask questions. I know there may be a question of, could they be under attack from the public? You can get some barrages of questions. But I think the people that are going to come up to these sessions, just like at the school, understand that it is to be a public, respectable, responsible question session, that we are to be polite. We are not to put somebody in an awkward position. We want to learn about them, but not attack them. That's not how you interview somebody. And it also gives them a chance for them to have a question and answer session on the public. Let them ask us some questions, because they need to know the animals that we are. You can tell them, but just from the room here, we're all different. And it would be nice to give them that opportunity. So I appreciate the board taking the time to take the input. Thank you.
Uh-oh. In the pocket? There they are. I know what you're looking for as soon as you tap your pockets.
Frank Campana, Quaker Street, as if you didn't know Mr. Hippler.
Howdy, how are you?
Well, all the previous speakers had a lot of great ideas. I hope this isn't a meeting of just as a token from the board to, the people out here. Just say you kind of fulfill some type of obligation. So what I'm looking for is, or what I would suggest, a person who's self-motivated to do the job. And that would be to encompass not being a puppet of people in charge. I actually have here, not being a puppet of people sitting at the table. So I might as well tell it like it is. Someone that can pull up his bootstraps and perform trench duty. This person probably knows what I mean. Well, an example of that would be, during the daytime hours. I wouldn't expect it, after daylight hours. But, if he has to get out on the road and do a patrol for a couple of hours, I think that would be great, to fill in. If somebody, starts the shift off, regular cop starts the shift off, and I don't feel good, I got to go home, well, the police chief should be able to step up to do that. And sometime when the outgoing person that we have now, when the first public hearings came up, there was a lady that spoke. Her husband was a police chief in a New Jersey town. I'm going to say town, it might have been a city, I'm not sure. And she made it a point to tell the board at that time that her husband, as a police chief, he actually went out on, other hours, second, third shift, to see how, his men were doing. So that's what I mean, pull up his bootstraps, get out in the trenches, make himself aware. I'm looking, yes, the person's an administrator, but I would suggest that I don't want to see somebody, and I don't think we need somebody that's a desk jockey, my terms. And this is probably more to the board than to that position. I know you have a requirement, and I think you might have mentioned it, to live within a 25-mile radius of the town. Well, I'd like to see the person held to that, and I would like the board not to cave in. I don't want to hear the new prospective hiree that, well, I live 35 miles away, I live down in Salem, I live down in, Nashua, wherever, like that, and the board tell me as a taxpayer, well, we're going to hire this guy because of his, his qualifications, and we're going to make an exception to the 25-mile radius, all right? I'm sick and tired of having, I guess, 6 years of sending a car to Maine for 123 miles round trip. That car's a wreck. Okay? You can't tell me that, the joyride, and I'll term it that, the joyride between here and there has taken its toll on that car. All right? And who's going to replace the car? Me and every other taxpayer is going to replace it. So those are, my concerns, suggestions, whatever you want to term them.
Thank you, Frank.
And thanks for holding this.
Neil Kirk, Mount Dearborn Road. Thank you for holding this. And perhaps, although what you said, Ricky, at the beginning about officer friendly was funny, I think you're really right onto something. That is very, very important. I think there are 4 other criteria, in addition to things that others have said, that you ought to be looking for in a police chief. Number 1, that the person have the respect of the other officers, of the other folks in the department, both for the chief's leadership and management. Chief has to be a leader, and the chief has to be a manager. We've had some leaders, and we've had some managers, but I don't know that we've had a police chief who's both a leader and a manager. Second, I think the police chief should be a creative thinker in the sense that he can organize his department in ways that don't necessarily result in increased resource demands, like more money, but that can provide the services that we're looking for. Example, it's possible to provide 24/7 coverage if you have one less day shift and put that into the nighttime. It's possible to have a great deal of coverage for this town, and because there are towns of comparable size that have that kind of coverage, and do it with fewer officers, some more part-timers but fewer officers. Thirdly, I'd like to see a police chief that is responsible for his budget and looks to the taxpayers as well when he makes decisions or she makes decisions. For example, our budget for the police department has over $100,000 in overtime. There are other towns comparable size that have $15,000 or $20,000. A good police chief can figure out ways to organize and run his department or her department without that additional expenditures. And the fourth thing is that I hope you will not offer this person a contract for at least a year, if ever, and when you do, and if you do, that you run that contract through the town by a warrant article. The reason for the year's delay before you even consider this is that during that time the person is an at-will employee, and if despite your best efforts we really don't get a good fit, it'd be nice to have the opportunity to say thank you, but things didn't work out, as opposed to having a contract which puts an extraordinary amount of financial burden on the town to break it. I do have some comments on the building department, but I'm waiting for you folks to present your the way you did for a police chief. What are you thinking now? And once you tell us that, then I'd be glad to comment on it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep.
And again, I appreciate the opportunity to give you some input.
Alan Rockenbach, Buxton School Road. I'd like to address the method by which the police chief is going to be selected. Right now, he has to satisfy three main constituencies. He's got to lead his department, he has to interact with the people that administer the town, and he has to deal with the people themselves. And I think each group should have an opportunity to question the chief. I mean, there are a variety of views on how the department should be run, what it should be doing, how it should be administered. And each group has its own unique perspective. So I would like to see the candidates presented in a forum where they can be questioned by the public. Now, there was some concern that there may be people who are hostile to police. That's entirely possible. But I don't necessarily see that that's a bad thing, because the police chief will be in a unique position. He could possibly be shot at. You know, he could be under severe stress, and his reaction to stress is extremely important. So, you know, should such an eventuality occur, I believe his response to it would be extremely important. So what I would like to see is that each of the three constituencies have their own time with the potential candidates, and that their input be considered and weighted very heavily by the board.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Bill Peterson, Sugar Hill Road. Pretty much everybody here's covered most of the major points that I would bring up. I think we're the second largest landmass town in the state of New Hampshire, which poses problems in and of itself.
Does.
I've got a law enforcement background. I've been a law enforcement trainer for a number of years. And I think what we need at this point in time is a police chief that's going to take ownership for the town. We've got a good bunch of officers here. You've got a great command staff. They just need some good leadership and somebody that's got a can-do attitude. They've got to be from New Hampshire. They can't be from Maine or New Haven. It just doesn't work. They've got to have ownership, and they've got to be from here. So I guess in retrospect to the 25-mile condition that you're putting, I think that's really important, and if it can be even closer. Because the last chief, I think if anything would happen that was major, the lieutenant would have been the one responding, because the chief's not going to get here in 2 hours. And somebody did bring up the wear and tear on a vehicle that's been traveling probably over 100,000, many hundred thousands of miles. So I think it's really important we get somebody that can be part of this town once and for all. And I think the past couple of chiefs have done a good job in different ways, getting the team together to get them to where they are now. And I think if you bring them in and you have a public forum, that'd be very powerful, not only for them, and if they face a little hostility, so be it. They should be able to handle that.
Would anybody else like to speak? Or just want everybody to have the opportunity first, that's all.
Lori Davis, Buxton School Road. A couple points that are important is this last chief, we had a car become no longer a police car in the sense that we could identify it. The license plates were changed, the family was driving in it. It's about liability, it's about responsibility. I do not want to pay for police cars that are busy being somebody else's personal vehicle. It's an expense this town can't bear. The other thing I think that is so very, very important is that we need a police chief not only from a verbal sense, but we need complete transparency. I know they can't discuss cases, but they should be able to give reports. Goffstown, even Dunbarton, they put out on a monthly basis so many break-ins, this time of night, speeding, this kind of business, so the residents can keep track and they have a clue of what's going on, other than, well, we've got terrible things going on here in River City. Well, that's great, but
What?
nobody's proven it to me yet. I think transparency is huge, and timeliness on things. When a resident goes to the police department or a chairhead to get information, and information never comes forward, ever, for an entire session. You can go 4, 5, 6 months and not get any information. That doesn't build goodwill and trust. Transparency is huge. And I think that needs to come across for the board when they're discussing things here with you, to discuss things and not suddenly we find out, oh, we're spending $30,000 on this, thoroughness. We shouldn't be putting out RFPs over and over again for the same system. You ought to be able to get it done once, and if it means talking to other towns first, gosh darn, let's try doing that first before we send out the RFP. So I would say, think of some of those things.
Thank you.
Howard Kalugian, 217 Colby Road. I think there's a great deal of wisdom that we've heard from the community tonight, and I'm sure you'll take it all to heart. You asked, what do we want to see in a police chief? What I've heard is that we want them to be part of our community. And we want them to be so much a part of our community that they won't abuse our cars or any of the other things that we give them. I think the danger in having somebody who's not part of the community is that they're going to look for becoming police chief here in order to be a stepping stone to go somewhere else after a few years. I don't think we can afford that. So please be careful about that. I'd like to see a long-term commitment by the person who comes in. I'd like them to make this their home, just as we have.
So would I. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Eric?
Leg bothering you? Yeah.
What do you think the attrition rate will be if a new chief comes in with all the training we have with some of our offices? In the past, have we lost any? With a new chief incoming?
That was a little bit before my time, but I don't know. I don't believe so. Not because of the. Again, I'll go on a limb and say not because the chief came in, per se. Just because it's John Smith. I don't like him. I quit. I don't think that's happened. Not to my knowledge. But I am the young buck on the board here, so
Okay.
I don't know.
Yeah, my other question was, in a couple weeks, you're going to start your summer out. You won't be meeting bi-weekly. So is there any one of you that will act as a liaison to the new chief that will catch his quips within a week or within a day? I know you must have an open line to everybody, but...
Yeah, we do a lot of, now because of, you can't exchange, because then it's considered a meeting, but a lot of our information that is given to the board is electronic email. So updates as far as something might be going on is emailed to us as a board, but we as a board will not, communicate back and forth, and we won't communicate back. We may call Naomi and say, yeah, thanks for the information, XYZ, and hang the phone up. But as a board, we won't meet via electronically. But we do receive a lot of information that way. So I think I got, 4 or 5 emails from you today? Just
I
today?
could have done more, just ran out of time.
Exactly. So, we get quite a bit of correspondence that way, so we're pretty abreast on what's going on.
And I hate to be the one to ask, but has every conceivable background check been made? Can this new applicant carry a gun? The domestic dispute charges pending against him?
Yeah.
But it's
I know exactly where you're going with that. And that concern has been well expressed to MRI. And I know that they do their due diligence. I'm my due diligence of what I can do, I Googled them. I Googled every one of them that we had. And to see and there's one of them I can't even find. So I think that's probably a good thing. I would say, if you can't find them, that's probably good. If you found them easy, that'd be bad. Unless it was, shining light, saves baby, etc. That's again, yes. But some of that stuff, by law, some of that stuff that when we start to dive into their personal, they have to have a conditional offer on the table first. But yes, to answer your question, yes.
All right, thank you.
Anybody else like to speak? Police chief? Going once, going twice? Who wants it? Nobody? Okay. Again, and I appreciate everybody's input as one board member. I'm sure I speak for the rest of the board members by saying that. And some of it, we will do everything in our power that the law allows to, bring forward these chiefs. I don't know if that is something that we can do as far as a public forum. I know my personal take on it. If I was gunning for a job and next thing you know I'm in a public forum, my boss is like, "Oh, you're going for another job? Yeah, good, take it, because you don't have one here." So I really wouldn't want to cross that bridge. Again, that's my own personal take on it. But as far as all this input that we have. I can see that from the candidates, because we met the candidates on last Thursday. A couple from out of state, one from in-state. It was, like I said, it's hard. It's going to be a hard process, because I feel everything that you guys said at that podium, I feel that. I've lived through that. So, and again, I if any of the other board members would like to chime in at any given time, don't let me be the mouthpiece here. So, like I said, I appreciate all the input. I really do. And I know a couple of the comments that were made have definitely, in the back of my mind, with meeting with the candidates, have actually changed a couple things I was thinking. So, John, you like to say anything?
No, I'm just trying to absorb it all.
Yes, yes. There's a lot of information, that's for sure. Jim?
I think that quite a few of the questions that you raised here tonight are things that we raised also on Thursday evening. So I think that it gives me a good feeling that we are thinking along the same lines as you are, or vice versa here.
I know, yeah. I personally know it was said that, we want a member of the community. That's what I want, so.
How would you handle relocation expenses for someone from out of state?
I don't believe that we.
That's on them.
Yeah, we haven't
That's on
we
them.
haven't. Yeah, that's nothing we want to do. So, I mean, if you're taking the job, I think they should pay their way.
Pay
come
their
up.
way to get here.
Right.
Rick, if you don't find any of the candidates meets your criteria,
Yep.
you don't have to hire them, right? You can
That is correct.
try to go,
Yep.
go back and dig
That is
deep
correct.
and only find folks from New Hampshire, for example.
That is correct. If we were to be so lucky.
Yep.
So. Done.
Donna Osborne. I was just wondering if anyone's approached you between last week and this week, and can you share any ideas that have been brought forth to you?
As far as general public or employees, or?
Yeah, just.
Okay. She asked if anybody had approached us between Thursday and now.
Yeah,
Any employees, any residents, and my answer is no.
no, okay. I didn't know if anybody.
Mine's no.
Okay.
So.
I went seeking them. I've talked to probably 25, 30 of them since last Thursday.
Aren't you special?
Well, everybody I meet, I just ask them the same questions we've been asking
There you
these
go.
people.
But that's what you have to do.
I was out of town.
That's all in here.
Good. Well, you better start reading then.
Share it.
Sherry?
I have a lot of the same thoughts that have been brought up. I'd like to see somebody fairly local, a working chief, somebody with an HR background, somebody that really knows the law, somebody that's full-time, somebody that's gonna live within a 20, 25-mile radius, somebody that can look at the budget and reduce some of the overtime. I think has been out of control. I just think somebody that's a true professional, that's what we need.
And friendly.
And
Well,
friendly.
you get
I like friendly.
that
Yeah, I'll toot that horn, yeah. Jack?
Pretty much the same thing. You're gonna work in a small town, you've gotta be out and interact, and that's one of the biggest things that I'm looking for, is gonna be a working chief. He's not sitting in an office, he's not sitting there, studying for his next position, or next degree, or more alphabets behind his name. Somebody that's gonna go out and meet and greet the public, is gonna live in the community, and is going to be active in the community, and be seen out there every day that he's working, and maybe the days he's not working, and interact with the people and have an open door policy. So if somebody wants to see him, you get to see him, even if it may be, you may have to set an appointment, but if you go in and he's there and you ask to see him, he'll take the time to see you. And that's the biggest thing in a small town, and listening to what the problems are. I know that some of the stuff that, they want to know what the crime rate is. Yeah, we could do better with that, but there's some of it you can't, because you start putting that out. And coming from a law enforcement background, the biggest thing that Sean did a while back was to turn around and put it in public. We don't have any coverage from 2 to 7 in the morning, and that just turn around and put up the, the open sign, come and break into our, and commit crimes here. You don't want to be too open about that, to the point where you don't want to invite the criminal element saying, oh, where's an easy pick, so let's go up there and start breaking into the places, or start committing other crimes here. So, but yes, to put more out that this is what we're doing to thwart some of this, our patrol sectors or so forth. And I think I could say that some of the candidates that we interviewed the other night are right in tune with that, and right in tune in being in a small town environment and want to be involved in the community.
Right.
So I think we had a pretty good selection so far.
Right. Yeah, I mean, that's nothing that we put in the ad when these folks saw it. It's not like you said, we didn't say we want you in the community, et cetera. We just said you have to live within 25 miles, and some of them came forward and said, no, we want to be members of the community. That's what we should be. So they came forward on their own. So some of that kind of alleviated, kind of a sigh of relief. All right, they do want to be in this town. They do want to, and I'm sure that anybody, that knows how to run a computer can just Google the Town of Weare Police Department, and unfortunately the pages start flying. And good and bad, I mean, and I think that the candidates have done their due diligence on that. And again, I really hope going forward that, in my tenure, whether I serve another term or not, I want to be able to walk away and say, I was instrumental in doing a couple things, and I think police chief's one of them. So, again, I have lost some sleep over this, a couple nights, going back and forth on these candidates. So, I can say that anyways. So like I said, I want to thank everybody for that on the police side. We'll take it all under advisement. Like I said, we'll check on some of the things that were advised for as far as meeting them and see what we can and cannot do. And like I said, we will make it known what we can and can't do. So.
Ricky, can I?
No, you can't.
Okay, fine.
No, go ahead, John.
No, I mean, the people I talked with since last Friday, Saturday, Sunday, today, just about the people I run into, I tried to pick some people that aren't involved in the town, shall we say. And the number one thing that I kept coming back and hearing, they want somebody that's gonna come in here and hold the officers accountable for their actions. That was the number one thing that they said. The second was open communications. And this is gonna go against what I've been saying here. The majority of the people want someone that does not know the officers or the department. They want somebody new, a new start. And like Ricky says, it's and you can ask my wife, I've lost sleep. I just, since last Thursday, and I'm still torn which way. I really am. But the input tonight's been helpful, and hopefully we'll do the best we can for the town.
Yep.
Where will we get, where should we go to get information that you're giving out?
Can they call you? Well, I mean, that's what I'm thinking. We'll try and put it on the website. We'll try and put it on the website initially, but, you know, all the questions may not be answered on there. That's what I'm saying. That's my thought process. I'm not saying we just only, again, everything goes to her, but if we can't, yeah.
Can't, it's violation of.
Some of it, like I said,
Yeah, but I'm saying the things that the public can know, where should we go to find it?
I would say the town website.
The website?
The website, yeah. And if it's above and beyond that, I'll have to divert to Naomi for that. You're welcome. So, all right, if we are good with the police chief, we'll move on to the other staffing discussion. Okay? If anybody wants to leave, more than welcome. If anybody wants to stay, more than welcome.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, everybody,
See
for
you,
coming.
Gary Gavin, he used to be a cop in Goffstown, he worked for the sheriff's department, I've known him since he got hired, so, he's a good cop.
Clean the room a little bit.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Yeah, just for now.
No, they could just go in the stew.
Yeah, just for a minute or two till they clear out. So, again, the second thing that we want to talk about is staffing. As far as, and that's what it says on our agenda, staffing. You know, bless you. When somebody leaves, you know, or retires, it's always, you know, probably good practice to review to make sure that services are being rendered as efficiently as possible, and whether that is, again, restructuring a current position, or adding a position, or deferring a position. You know, what better time to do it than now? Especially when the funding is going to change. Again, municipalities are a little different than the private sector, where now you're talking retirement, New Hampshire retirement system, et cetera. What better time to talk about it than now? So as far as actually moving forward with a whole lot of planning on the staffing changes that were proposed, and it was just a few ideas, it was nothing concrete. The board really hasn't come up with a solid plan of attack yet, I'll say. You know, we have not said that, again, ideas have been tossed around about contracting the building inspector, and changing the code enforcement, and then splitting some of the money that would be utilized for, you know, insurance and such like that, that would be utilized for part-time personnel. So again, we've kind of gone back and forth with those ideas, but nothing is in concrete yet. But I figure while we had the, you know, kind of the board consensus was, as we had this forum here, and I know I said last week that, you know, the ones that I'd want to really talk to are the ones that utilize the two service, you know, that wing of the building as often as they do. The contractors of the town, anybody that's utilizing the, you know, the code enforcement, the building inspector. I know that Chief Azina and the Board of Fire Wards have been discussing also a little bit as far, and Chief Azina has been involved in the meetings that go on here because he does the mechanical inspections. So, you know, there could be some shared stuff going on there. But again, what better time to look at it than now? So any suggestions from people that utilize those services would definitely be welcomed. And again, board, don't let me hog the mic if you guys want to say something.
Janine Lynch, Flanders Memorial Road. I happen to be in Chip's office quite often. So having been someone that's built previously in town and currently building right now, not a professional by any means, it's nice to be able to have the availability, I find. Because I don't know what the ratio in town is for contractors versus, you know, I know there's a lot of homes that are built by just the homeowners as well. So for me to be able to go and Chip's, I mean, I find him fairly available, and if I stop in and see Wendy and he's not, he definitely gets back to me within that day with answering a phone call. So that's been great. But I think it's really important, too, when you talk about splitting up the department, the person that you get to talk to is also the same person that does the actual inspections. Because, I mean, the codes are definitely the codes, but there can be 10 ways to do something and it can still be up to code. And if, if the inspector has a particular idea, you don't want to talk to one person and then have somebody else come and check your work. It's like for like the mechanicals, you can go see the chief and you can ask him. When I had driveway questions, because I have a longer driveway, I was able to talk to the chief, what are you looking for? You're the one that's going to inspect this in the end and sign off if I am able to, occupy. And I was able to talk to him and this is exactly what we need. So it's just nice to be, when you split things up, you just want to, make sure that in each split, the beginning and end person is the same, because if you get one answer, but other than that.
So full availability, in a nutshell.
Well, yeah, well.
Because like you said, to call and interact.
And it is a small town, so as far as like waiting, as far as inspections go, it's never been a problem for me to have to wait, more than a day or two. And that's why I moved here, and that's why I love it here. I'm not in the city, and it's not a timeline, and I'm not a contractor, and, but, so I don't have a problem with having to wait a little while to have the availability. It doesn't have to be that minute.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Anyone else like to speak? Frank?
Frank Campana, Quaker Street. Well, unfortunately, totally unprepared, because I thought you were going to do this 2 separate nights.
We'll be probably talking about it again. This isn't even going to be the only time.
Yeah, but in this forum.
Okay.
That's all. My concern is, I hear the word part-time help. I hear the word being paid from savings, which we all knows what happens to savings. There really is not a savings. When does the part-time help become full-time help? I guess, none of us has a crystal ball, but that's the foot in the door. So I don't know if that's concerns to the board. As far as me as a taxpayer, it certainly is, because we all know what full-time help can mean as far as, salaries and benefits, pays and benefits. I did happen to listen to a little bit of that meeting. I think did you have a couple of weeks ago, I think?
Yeah.
Week before last.
Yeah, week before last.
And in regards to pay, I heard a department head stand up and, really kind of graciously say that, if he or the department could help out. It sounded to me, again, I wasn't quite prepared, but it sounded to me that he was, the person was offering, to take on more responsibility of an inspection. Well, at least two considerations. That person is part-time, is, restricted in hours. So what does that take away from, his department head duties? And what type of stipend might he be looking for? That's really the top of my list. That department could say, they already have a track record of issuing pay raises without the taxpayers having a say. So that's really, weighs a lot on my mind. They can do that again. So I think that's a consideration. Is I don't deal with the building department. I heard what this lady said. Availability. I can't dispute that. In fact, I called Chip a couple of times myself with questions related. There's a neighbor that just bought a house and got a backhoe in his yard, and I was wondering.
You?
No, I wish I had it, though.
No, I say that humorously.
Yeah,
so
I know.
For
They
folks that
borrow
don't
it.
know. But, I've had occasion to ask Chip, the last one was the Cortland Estates up there. Who's watching the road being built? Who's signing off on it? So, he's kind of been available to me, too, in that, very minimal aspect. So, it's great to have part-time employees, but there's an expense that's going to be incurred. And savings is not going to do it, absolutely not going
I
to
don't know
do
that
it.
we use savings for the.
Yeah, I don't
Have
think we're
savings.
saving, as far as, it's, I mean,
Well, it was mentioned tonight.
yeah.
Saving money, though. That's
Pardon me?
saving money, not having savings. It'll be saving.
Right,
taxpayers.
saving money
So
in
you
one
wouldn't be,
aspect
so
to
your,
offset.
so your taxpayers' money wouldn't go to pay for a full-time salary. You'll only be paying part-time. So that's where the savings comes in to
Right,
you.
right, I
Not
get
to-
that.
Not to us to go on an
I
account.
get that, and my statement is that that will be very short-lived.
I understand what you're saying. I understand.
Okay, thanks.
Yep.
Neil Kirk, Mount Dearborn Road. Again, thank you for taking public input. I think it's an important thing for you to do. I've had some discussions with a number of folks on this, including Naomi, and had some sense of what might be one of the things on the table, and I'd just like to throw out a couple of thoughts for you to consider as you go through that. To the extent that we're looking for another part-time person to help Wendy out, we need to make sure that that part-time person is really only in there for a short period of time, a year, 2 years, whatever it is. My understanding is that we're trying to scan in a significant number of documents, and Wendy just does not have time to do a regular job and this scanning. She could take care of the scanning if, in fact, it were the current documents, but she doesn't have time to go back and put in all the historic documents in scanned form. And to the extent that a part-timer is being hired to do that, once that job is finished, perhaps the part-time position would be finished also. So that it's a temporary part-time position, not a permanent part-time position. There was also a thought that the fire department could take on some of these responsibilities, and I'd just point out a very practical thing. The fire department is run by the Board of Fire Wards. If you folks cede authority to the fire department to do a certain function that's normally done by a town employee, then you may have also lost the ability to control that employee. And I'm not sure that that's a good idea. And finally, one of my experience over the past 20, 30 years, well, 10 to 20 years in dealing with code enforcement is that code enforcement is a very political, very difficult thing to do. We have not had, in my opinion, code enforcement officers who enforce the code. Most of them relied on complaints to come in and only acted on the complaint. And part of the problem is the exact converse of what we're looking for in a police chief. You get a guy who's so embedded in or gal who's so embedded in the community that all of their friends are the ones who they would have to be taking action against, and that's a real problem for them. It might be the wisest thing to do, in this case, to contract out code enforcement to MRI or some organization that does these kinds of things, so that in fact you have an unbiased, neutral party who is actually enforcing the code. There's no point, I mean, we're all law-abiding, but if we see that our neighbors are doing something and there's no consequence to that, then the rest of us figure, hey, well, we can do it also. So if we have laws and if we have a code, it's got to be enforced. If we don't like the code, let's change it. We put it in, we can change it. So I would ask that you make sure that the code enforcement officer, full-time, part-time, is truly going to enforce the code and is independent as much as humanly possible of local connections and political influence. Thank you.
There you do. It's a valid point.
Yeah.
Hi. I'll just try to address a few things. If you go on the LGC website, there are several communities that are looking for a part-time building inspector. I think the reason why there's several communities looking for a part-time building inspector is because they have difficulty in finding those people. As I said the last time we talked about this, I very much so believe in code enforcement because it protects the homeowner, it protects the livelihood or the property of whoever owns that building or facility, and it is not some things are very black and white, some things are not so black and white when it comes to code enforcement. I offered, not that I was going to do the building inspection code enforcement, but that was a function that we could bring into the fire department, that if we were going to hire a part-time or full-time person to do that, is now the time to maybe bring that, all of code enforcement under the direction of, or into the fire department, for a couple of reasons. One is we do code enforcement already. There's always a balance between the two codes, the NFPA codes that come out of the state fire code, and that adoption, and also through the ICC, the International Residential Code, or the Commercial Code. I think that as in some of the reason for that is not only for the immediate code enforcement piece, but looking at our growth in response to demand, is that that could help offset, the cost of a future employee in the fire department. As instead of having a single-use, single-purpose employee, whether full-time or part-time, you could get a multifaceted employee that does code enforcement. They also do EMS. They also do fire. And so you're getting a bigger bang for your buck. You get that synergy of that combination of skills. I don't know if you guys have gotten prices from MRI of how much you're going to pay someone an hour, but it's not going to take long until you're paying nearly the entire salary of an employee in our shop. And I think you end up with two things, and kind of what Neil said is you have someone who enforces the code, someone who's invested in the community, and I would somewhat disagree with what was just said about, well, it's somebody that you know, and so you let something go, and I don't think that's not something that happens in our house. Whether that happens here or not, I can't vouch for that. But having, I forgot where I was going there, but I think that there's added value having that in our shop, and having that as our employee. I think the concerns of, they're under the direction of the Board of Fire Wards is worry about nothing, honestly. And I think that that's a good fit. There's several communities in the state that do that. Litchfield is one. Hudson is another. There's several other communities where code enforcement is in as a function of the fire department. So that's my 2 cents.
Just an avenue if we want to explore it. Can you, I know Naomi just wrote those ones down, but if you know a couple others that are right off the top of your head, Litchfield, Hudson, et
I
cetera.
can get you a list.
Yeah, maybe we can get their SJDs.
Londonderry does some of it.
I think Litchfield, aren't they looking for somebody?
Litchfield's looking for someone currently. Hudson, it's part of the fire department.
Right.
Some of it.
Concord, it's somewhat separate. They have, a more robust fire prevention piece. Some of the what was said about being a complaint-based system, I think most communities kind of work as a complaint-based code enforcement piece. There's some stuff that statutorily we need to do annually. There's some stuff, you really get that one bite at the apple in new construction, which why it's so important to have someone now for, say, Cortland, because, that this is your one chance of correcting issues as it's being built before the CO is issued. So, it's important, and I hate, I would like to see this get straightened out, because it's coming quick, and we're probably going to do 25, 30 houses this year. I mean, it's, plus all the other stuff that's going on.
I'm just thinking, and again, maybe that's not a avenue that we choose to pursue, but if we don't look at it, I think that we've failed. So I think we should at least consider it and look at it and see what the job descriptions look like. Maybe our neighbors to the south, we can get a description from them too as well. In the north and the east and the west.
I know some of them, with personal experience, split the duties. Londonderry Fire splits the duties on certain things, because I've had to deal with them. Northampton, they have a building inspector, but it also comes out under the fire department that they work hand in hand, and they split some of the duties. So, I mean, it's a lot of different towns.
And just to finish the thought on the complaint-based thing, kind of had a senior moment there for a sec, is that, we have our statutory stuff, we have other, new construction piece, and some of it is complaint-based because we're not in the properties all the time, but someone calls up and say, hey, my neighbor in the apartment house is doing X, or someone is taking the smoke detectors down from my house, or whatever, and that kind of alerts us to an issue. And depending on, some of the legalities of things, the fire department has right of entry. And so we can find our way into property that some others can't.
Anybody else like to speak?
Two comments or concerns to the board. Mr. Kirk mentioned the inputting of information that Wendy has to do. I did hear that portion also. Sounds like she's probably, overworked, not able to do, anything real good. All right, no criticism of her, but, when you're stretched thin, something's got to give somewhere. When Mr. Kirk said, maybe hire a part-time person for a short duration till someone gets caught up, because right now, I guess we seem to be in a building boom, all right? But what's going to happen to that part-time person when the pendulum, when it slings the other way, and we know it will at some point in time, is the board, and of course, none of you may be here, and I probably won't be here, I don't know. But do you think the board would entertain to say, well, instead of having 30 houses this year, we only have 5 houses and decks and all that. We really don't have the workload for that part-time person. Do you think a board would entertain, letting that person go? I doubt it very much. In fact, the opposite will probably happen. They'd probably have to make work projects for that person to keep them on board. That's the way government works. Okay, and just as a little bit of a criticism of the last speaker, when Mr. Kirk mentioned the concern of, he was not the last speaker, but when Mr. Kirk mentioned his concern of the Board of Fire Wards working so independently from the Board of Selectmen, as we all know that they do. All right, they're their own entity unto themselves. They can do what they want. And when the last speaker said that, that was not a concern, that wasn't the word he used, it was something a little different. Don't take that into consideration that it's not going to be a concern, because it certainly will be, because the Board of Fire Wards precedents acting on their own has already been set. And I actually have a question, because I don't quite understand. I know the fire department has, can do a responsibility of, as they do now, oil burners, chimneys, and, fire-related stuff. But am I to understand that the fire department's going to go check out a septic system? They're going to check out a deck, the construction of a deck? They're going to check out the construction of a foundation? They're going to check out, 2x4s as opposed to 2x6s? I mean, if that's the indication, that's a stretch for me.
I don't think that was the indication.
Okay.
I think whoever is going to do this line of work,
Mhm.
the idea was maybe to have supervision through the fire department, because it's already inspection stuff. I wasn't asking a firefighter to go look at somebody's septic system. That's not what we were thinking.
Well,
At least
that's-
that's not what I portrayed anyway. When I
They're not
run.
qualified to do that, to begin
Well,
with.
and that was my
You've
question.
got to have somebody
I
qualified.
heard the presentation again from the last speaker, so I wasn't quite sure where does that fire department's jurisdiction end and, the actual construction begin.
Can we have the chief come up and explain that?
Yeah. And again, that's unfamiliar territory for this board. It was,
Right,
I'm
okay.
sure, and that's why we're going to obtain the other,
Okay.
the
So
other
I'm
job
happy
descriptions.
with that, let it go with that and,
Yeah.
go on with the.
If that's the case, and then, but I don't know.
Okay, all right, thanks.
Yep.
I guess I'm kind of confused too, because it was said in the way of a multifaceted employee, somebody that's an EMT, fire, and then taking on some of these things, so I'm lost.
That's true, and as Neil and I were just chatting, is that you have not everybody in the fire department, but there will be, as I envision it, is that we're going to hire or potentially hire a full or a part-time employee to do building inspections, and if that person came into the fire department, we could perhaps train one of our people that exists, or bring someone totally new to us that also had a skill set beyond just being a building code enforcement person, that also had the ability to be an EMT, that also had the ability to be a firefighter. And so that you had that multi-role employee, so that in times where we have peak demand in one area, we could utilize them there. Other times, and they have peak demand in, the code enforcement piece, they could be directed there. When we just heard about, workload is, right now, we are in a building boom. And so we have a high code enforcement demand. It wasn't that long ago where I think they issued 5 permits for houses back in 2008-ish. Because of the big financial crash, are we gonna fire the building inspector because we don't have any work for them? Well, we have work, and as long as they're trained in that multifaceted role, we could shift them. We could find work for them over here, and I think that's where you get that. Because of that multifaceted piece, is you get that synergy where you have an employee that's much more valuable as a whole than they are. Hey, we do have someone that all they do is they do septic system inspections. Okay, that's all they do, or all they do is code enforcement as far as the residential code, and that's it, and that's what you got. And so what I'm saying, and that's the modern fire service is kind of built on that, where you have these multi-role employees that are doing fire, EMS, they're doing prevention, they're doing public education. I mean, the system is kind of designed to kind of take this and run with it. And so that's what I'm offering.
Okay. Thank you, Chief. And again, nothing is in concrete, nothing's in stone. We're just exploring options. So, anyone else? Okay. Well, thank you, everybody, again, for coming
Actually, you have some here that I didn't have on the agenda.
Oh.
That are looking, are you guys for Parks and Rec, right?
Excellent.
Didn't know if we were supposed to show up, so we should show up.
Yeah. I told
Perfect.
Randy I'd get a hold of you, because I knew we had the night full, so. But, I mean, if you want to, I know
Topic.
two new faces.
Topic of?
They're new appointments for, there's Park and Rec, because Park and Rec is gonna dwindle if we don't.
Three here. Oh, 3?
There he is.
1, 2.
Perfect.
I can't think of the other one. I knew you two.
All right.
I knew there was somebody. Oh, and then Tara, is Tara here?
No, she's not here.
All right, well, she's a reappointment.
Okay.
So her and Steve Najar to Conservation are upstairs on my desk.
Okay.
But these 3 that are here would be new, so if you want to entertain, they're all Parks and Rec.
Sure.
Yeah.
Don't all hog the mic at once. Come on up, one at a
Are
time.
you all set with that? I didn't.
Yeah, no, it's fine. Yep. Well, they've been patiently waiting.
Okay.
We won't take any more of the time.
You're on parade.
So this is Pam.
Pamela Mole, 23 Beach Hill Road. And I'm interested in joining Parks and Rec
Awesome.
to serve the town.
Awesome.
Did they tell you it was for 3 years?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I thought you did that every day now.
Well, I do, but that's on the SAU side of serving the town, so now I
She
want
works over at the middle school.
Yeah, I'm the secretary at the middle school.
And it's every day's Parks and Rec there.
Can you tell us why you'd like to do it?
For the last 4 years, I've been on the Weare Athletic Club board, and I also run all of their concession stands.
Okay.
So I'm and I have 2 kids. I have a freshman at Stark, and I have a 4th grader up at Center Woods Upper Elementary. I think this is a great town. I've lived here for 20 years. My kids love it here. We have a great community. The Weare Athletic Club has grown by leaps and bounds, and we're just trying to make the resources available to the town's people, to improve them, to make them better, so that they can continue working for the kids in town and the families.
I think I spent years before, well, my kids were younger, they're gonna be 25 and 30 this year, but it's nice to have a connection.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Because it felt like it was an island at times.
Mhm.
It's just nice to have a connection with the WAC board, because you're all in it for the kids.
Oh, absolutely.
So,
Yep. So I'm all about the kids.
yeah.
All right. Any other questions? Entertain a motion.
Make a motion that we appoint Pam Mole for a 3-year term to the Parks and Rec Committee.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Welcome aboard.
Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Next.
Next victim.
Candidate.
Lisa.
Lisa Purington-Grolian, and I'm on Sawyer Road. Lived in town my entire life, and I've been volunteering for WAC since my oldest was probably 3 or 4. She's 13 now. And I've been involved with the WAC board, also conservation here, and I think I'm still on as an alternate.
Yeah, you show up on the letterhead.
Yeah. I show up when Naomi calls me. But again, and the other thing that I also have done is I worked at Chase Park when I was in high school. So I have a lot of concerns about Chase Park, and I'd like some things to maybe return to how they were back in the day. And I would like to be able to help as much as I can. So, and I have 3 kids involved in the rec program, and the farm I grew up on is right across from Inison Field. So, so I spend a lot of time volunteering over there too. So,
Board have any questions?
Yeah.
Entertain a motion.
I'd like to nominate Lisa Purington. Is it Wilson?
Grolian.
Brilliant.
Okay.
Close.
A lot easier. Maybe I should go with that.
As a park and recreation member for 3 years.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Welcome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, David, I don't remember your last name.
Lundeen.
Lundy.
What is it?
Lundeen.
Lundy.
Lundeen.
We're over on Page Hill Road.
Perfect.
We moved here just about 3 years ago, back from Arizona with my family, and all of my kids have been in WAC, and just kind of wanted to give back some of my time, because obviously with all my kids in the programs and all of them using parks, just wanted to help them out. They're over at Chase Park pretty much a lot during the summertime, because
yeah.
it's hot, and get them out and
He says they blame him.
Right?
yeah, so
You're
I just
right
wanted
there.
to give something back to the community, just because I had some time. My wife's on the WAC board, so I wanted to do something different from what she was doing. And
Well, that's not a connection.
what?
Is that a connection that's allowed?
I hope so. She works over at the middle school, but I just wanted to give back and help out.
Board have any questions? I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion that we appoint David Lundy for 3-year term to the Parks and Rec Commission.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Welcome aboard. Thank you.
Thank you.
And we have a couple of
Reappointments, you got Steve Najar for Conservation and
Yeah.
Tara Mann for Park and Rec.
So moved. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I abstain.
Good idea.
You abstain from both?
Well, from one. Or I'll say no for one, how's that?
Okay.
Conservation.
So a 4-1 and a 5-0. Okay. All right. Got all the curveballs for tonight?
That should be all the curveballs for now.
For now, right, for the next 5 minutes.
Mhm.
Awesome. Okay. All right.
You're on to minutes.
We're on the minutes. This is what everybody was waiting for, I know, I know. Me too.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, everyone.
Yep.
Good night, thank you.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thanks, Pam.
Wait, no,
Where do you want to start?
that's a good question.
318s, yeah.
Finding them, that'd be the start for me.
Right, well, I didn't do the two that we just got tonight, so.
You got 3 today.
Yeah,
Oh,
1, 2, 3, 4.
Well, one I already looked at,
The
Which was-
1-pagers.
yeah.
Yeah, the one pages, yeah.
Yeah, 318, 7 pages, so.
We did that, I did it.
What's that? You did 18?
Yeah.
Okay. Page 1.
Nothing.
And 2.
On page 2, down the bottom, second line up from the bottom of the page, Mr. Jones reviewed the project stating it will connect.
Oh, staying
Add stating it,
Okay.
We'll connect.
otherwise it doesn't make sense.
Stating it will connect with existing.
Kinetics will connect.
Yeah.
Conservation land.
Existing,
Yep.
Yeah.
I don't think you have to change it. It made sense as it is. Will connect.
How about just put, Mr. Jones reviewed the project and will connect existing,
It will, probably.
And
it's
it
gonna be-
will.
It will.
and it will. I like that. And it will. Anything else on 2? 3?
2, I have.
More on
three.
2?
No, go ahead, sorry.
3?
Yep.
Yep. 3?
On the top, on the last line of the Mildred Hall Advisory Committee on the first paragraph, approve the funding of 50,000 to add the, of $50,000.
Oh, put the amount in there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then down, kind of in the middle of the page on the Lori Davis
Yep.
paragraph,
What's it
the
still?
forester
Forester. Yeah, I got that.
instead of forest.
Regarding the forester with PLC?
Yeah, 13, yeah, the 13th line down.
Yeah.
You see it?
Yeah.
It's
Let's
above
see,
the
1,
It's above the
2, 3,
133.
4,
Couple lines
5,
above the
6, 7,
133.
9,
Oh,
10,
the same thing. It says vice chair.
13 lines down.
The line, another one, the line starts, it says vice chair meeting inquired regarding the forest, the PLC plans
Forester.
to work should be
It's the forester.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You said, somebody
Oh, she
said
said
Lori
forester.
I
Davis.
said
so-
forester.
No, that was the paragraph it started.
Paragraph,
Oh.
yeah.
It was Lori Davis, yeah.
I was gonna say, I didn't see her.
Anything else on 3?
No.
4?
One, two, three, 4 paragraphs down where Selectman Osborne recognized Andy.
Annie Fulton.
Annie Fulton, yeah.
Is, and on the very top line is Linda Faila's name spelt right, first name.
Is it L-Y?
We on 5 or 4?
NDA.
We're on page 4, you're on page 5.
Oh, I thought you
Oh, I
thought
was
it
like,
No.
was
No, we're on
I'm
4 still.
losing my mind here.
That's what I thought too, I was like, what?
Are we done on 4?
We all set with 4?
Well, I'd like to, because I had asked this, for this information, and it's kind of left wide open here. Selectman Snyder thanked Betty Straw for providing the Mildred Hall information she had previously requested, which represents a chronology of donations and purchase made by the Mildred Hall Fund. That, I would like to add that in there.
That's fine.
Yeah.
All right, well, slow post it, which what?
What's that, huh?
Just restate it.
Which represents a chronology of donations and purpose made by the Mildred Hall Fund.
Anything else on page 4? Page 5?
Top row.
Yeah, is that how you spell Linda?
Yep.
Okay.
And then
The next line down. Emma Sawyer Trust decision to be made by April 10th.
True statement.
Just,
Nope, you're fine.
okay, are you all set, ma'am?
Yep.
Okay. Then, does she have this one?
Yeah, the mathematics wasn't my strong point, but that's not a valid addition form.
Yeah.
There's something seriously missing in that.
Yeah, see, I have that too.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, something's missing, I don't know
Something's-
what.
The total is 797, but yet it only adds up to about
70.
75. So we'll look into that. Make sure it's the right number.
Yeah, either we added some or something.
We added a number or something.
Yeah, I didn't think it was that high.
Anything else on 5 other than the amount? 6.
Under the chief of police search, the second line down, just cross out after the, I don't know what I crossed out, oh, raised by, but raised during the public comment.
Okay.
Take out the word by.
Okay. Anything else on 6? 7?
1, 2, 3, 4. I think that should be pursue, not per-used.
Probably.
Funded.
Where's that?
Pursue.
Pursue, not per-use. The bottom where the paragraph starts, Selectmen verdict, and at the bottom of it, it says
Last.
potential need to pursue grant funding, not
Yeah,
Yep.
Per-use.
per-use, or per-use, yeah.
And then
In the next paragraph, Chairman Hippler inquired regarding
Elected
chair and vice chair for the next year, because that's what I think it was. Instead of elected position.
Oh,
chair, vice chair.
So
Yeah,
chair
chairman
and
and vice.
vice chair
Yep,
Take a
for
look.
the next year.
yep. I don't know if I would agree with that next line. Chairman Hippler and Vice Chair Meany both confirmed they would be happy to remain in their current positions. I don't know about that, but
No do-overs.
that's right.
Too late.
Too late now.
Too late now.
Yeah.
I'm in front of the year. Great. Any other things on page 7?
No.
Move to approve the March 18th meeting minutes as amended.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 319, short and sweet.
I didn't find anything wrong with them.
Move to approve as written. There we go.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 325, do we get to that? Okay. This is another 7-page one, huh? Okay. All right, page 1.
Page 1. Second line up from the bottom.
Yeah.
Are you doing the first?
The fire
that's
department
next, March
currently
25th.
does the mechanical permitting.
Yes, mechanical, I would say. Yes, I would add that in.
And currently, yeah.
Yep. What's that? Page 1, page 2.
The assessing paragraph, assessing administrator, so third line down. I think it's of instead of or. Hours of work / week, per week. 70 hours of instead of or.
Yeah, I would say so.
Okay.
Obviously, it's kind of a screwy.
Anything else on 2?
I just had a question. Does she do all of the 911?
Yeah,
Yep.
she's the coordinator.
Okay, so, but is it up to date now? Is it?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so
That
she's
has to be-
doing
That has
all
to be
new?
dropped and
That
done
has to
first.
be, yeah, that has
Okay.
to be done first.
All right.
Everything else takes a back seat to that.
So
Yep.
she just adds as they come in, she's adding new houses as they come in.
There probably was a,
She actually has to go out and take the wheel and measure to get a number,
Yeah.
and then she puts it in the system.
Yep, perfect.
Okay.
I don't want my house number to change. Page 3
I'm all set.
and 4.
I'm all set.
Page 3, there's 2.
Oh, oh,
Right up, open bid for electrical, it should be Harry Hadley, not Henry.
Oh, yeah.
I have Harry.
I have
I have
Harry.
Harry.
I have it.
Henry.
Oh, no, I see where it's
Yeah,
Henry up in
and
the
then
middle.
where it
Oh,
says town
Yeah,
administrator.
okay,
up in the paragraph, I was looking
Yeah.
at
When town, where it says town administrator Bolton confirmed the bids, that should be Harry, not
Yeah.
Henry.
Yeah, yeah.
Good catch.
Is that it?
Is that it?
Okay.
I didn't see.
Page 4. 5.
5, I do have one.
One.
Under DPW roof leak,
Yeah.
fourth line down,
Mm-hmm.
and redo it in,
Rather than re-sew.
Resell
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, whatever. Maybe we're sewing it back together, I don't know. Whatever makes it not
That's
leak.
all I had.
Anything on 6? 7. Move to approve the March 25th meeting minutes as amended.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I didn't get these till today.
All right,
and
so
then-
April 1st, we can get done.
You just got them.
Right,
This morning I sent them out,
right,
because I got them at 12:50 this morning,
okay. And April 8th
50
as
a.m.
well.
12:50 a.m. Well, I got one at 12:45 a.m.
Oh, I
Sunday
left my
morning.
phone.
I'm gonna go on a limb here, and I'm gonna move to approve the April 11th meeting minutes as written.
Second.
All in favor?
The one pager from Thursday
Aye.
night.
Aye.
Aye.
All right, so we'll table the 8th
15.
and the
First.
first.
We got 2 and the 19th.
We already did the 19th.
We did the 19th.
Yeah, we already did 19th.
Yeah.
We did the one pager.
These, you did the one pages?
Yeah.
Yes.
Those are the same.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh, I got
Those
two
are the
of
same,
them.
yeah. Maybe you
That's
spelled,
why I'm confused. They give me 2.
well, you know,
I didn't get one, so you probably got mine.
You didn't get one? Here. You got it?
It's all
now?
right. I get it online, though.
all right, I put that away now. Good. All right, manifest, that's me. All right, move to order the treasurer to sign the payroll and accounts payables checks dated April 18th, 2019, as included in the following manifests. Payroll manifest is $77,277.65 for a weekly payroll, including payout accrual. An accounts payable manifest of $38,024.58, and a fire department accounts payable manifest of $4,269.10, which again, the Board of Fireworks pre-approved, and makes a total of $119,521.33. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Not too far away, I can't throw
Is
it
there
to you.
enough signatures?
Of course there is.
I have a question though.
Nope. Not answering questions right now.
What's your question?
Did I throw you my, where the hell did that go? Really?
What?
No. Like I said, threw my agenda away.
Which minutes are you in,
Uh-oh.
Naomi?
Well, Neil brought something up.
What's that?
Neil brought something up that I said in the minutes.
March 25th,
Oh,
right? Something about
Want
the
a
library
clarification?
not having a treasurer or something.
Bookkeeper.
yeah, and I didn't,
Keeper.
I didn't find it. Did I not?
Didn't knock it.
I had a note here, that's why, sorry.
Oh,
I didn't see it, but I could have missed it.
Maybe somebody deleted it?
That's not what I wanted. I want that.
That's it.
Are you talking about me?
I said maybe
Just a little
someone
bit.
deleted it.
Could be.
Was that under public comment?
Had something to do with the, I thought it had to do with the reconstruction or reorganization.
Yeah.
Because we talked about, there was a concern about Mr. Vizina and, the Board of Fire Wards and,
He just brought that up tonight, too.
yeah, it was brought up again tonight. Seems to be a theme.
I didn't think they brought it up in the meeting, though. Maybe he said it to you.
No,
on
he
the-
brought it up last week and said that she wanted to pass on a correction that's not right in the minutes. Am I dreaming, or?
No, I heard that too, and I kept looking for it
I didn't see
when I
it.
was reading these.
Sure didn't bring it up in your office.
All right, page 5.
Okay.
Page 5 on the 18th.
On the 18th.
Oh, the 18th, okay.
I knew it was the 18th, not the 25th. On the bottom of 5 where it says, the last paragraph, Town Administrator Bolton reminded the board that unlike the library, the Board of Fire Wards doesn't have a bookkeeper. Swallow checks will be signed by the town treasurer. So, what the library used to have a bookkeeper. They don't anymore.
Oh.
So what happens is, and you can leave the minutes alone, I don't really matter, is we cut them a check for 1/12 of the balance.
Right.
Then the check gets given to the library, somebody takes it to the bank, deposits it, then the librarian cuts all the checks, and then the treasurer of the trustees or the chairman sign the checks. So it's a little bit different than what it used to be. But that's what happens now, so.
Is that as of Mr. Sullivan, or?
Yeah, it does, I believe so, because
Okay.
Chris, they used to have a bookkeeper.
Okay.
So I just wanted clarification, just to let you know that they don't have a bookkeeper. So. I don't know if you want to correct it or leave it alone, or I'll let reflect in
What
this.
page is it on?
Page 5. Doesn't really matter, obviously it didn't perk your memory, so don't know why I even said it. I mean, I'm all set with it, I just wanted you to, I did find the answer, so.
Okay. Thank you.
If you want to or not, we can.
Does anybody want to change it, or?
There truly's not a bookkeeper over there.
There's really not a bookkeeper over there. Well, there it is. I'm also leaving it,
Yeah, I'm all right.
Yeah.
because it'll be in this minutes.
Yeah, I
That was
just made
corrected.
Just
There it
made
is.
a note if the minute taker's on time here.
Oh, boy. Brings us
All
to you.
right, that would be me.
Mm-hmm.
Hang on. Did Jason go home?
He did, I
Is
think.
he here for the surveillance cameras? Thought he was. Anyway. All right, well, let's wander down through the government building ones.
Okay.
So, the town hall, I did speak to Walker Roofing. I'm just gonna have them look at the building when they get the lift here and evaluate things when they can actually get up closer and look at it on the number 1.
Yep.
The bell tower, they're planning on bringing all the stuff that they've done this week. They're gonna call me and we're gonna put it on the stage at the town hall.
Okay.
I don't know how much rain we're gonna get this week or whatever, but all the stuff will be brought here.
Can you just let us know when that occurs?
Yep, I can.
I did speak to Ben, Naomi, he's gonna get the trees cut this week.
Okay. And there was a concern about what we're gonna use for roofing. And I know there was a little bit of a discussion last week about it, and the concern being that if there's penetration made to the roof with the spires, then copper would not rust where metal may. So I spoke. Yeah, so I spoke to Tom Miller at Walker, and they're going to flash everything that gets penetrated. So there is no fear of rust. And so to continue on that path, he's also, when he brings his stuff, he's gonna bring me a color. We
Comparison.
can pick a color.
Color chart.
Yeah, color chart.
Mhm.
So we'll be able to do that. We didn't talk about the Gordon Brown buildings, but I can do that when he gets here, just tell him we have all the stuff, there's stuff
Well,
still.
we have, yeah, it's in the stone building. We
Okay.
have all the,
Right, we just need to pay a price per hour to paint.
coating, yeah, and the other thing is I don't have rollers or brushes or
Yeah.
that stuff.
Well, like, we can talk about that so when he comes and drops all his stuff, I'll get the color swatch and we can talk about some other things. It'll be sometime this week. Gazebo, we talked about earlier, that's a done deal. The other, Wendy's gonna get me 3 smaller contracts that might be handymen, that I can get some quotes for some of these other projects for. The Homeland Security grant, those are available year-round, but I actually, gonna reach out to a company called Ring, R-A-N-G, which I, met at the conference at the ICMA. And they partner with, towns for like safe communities. And so it's a security camera that, kind of can be installed on your homes.
We
But-
have it, I mentioned it to you a few
But the
months
other,
ago.
I know the school just went through a grant process too for their cameras. So there's some opportunity there, in looking around. Security cameras, I had hoped to move on and call them and tell them to get here. But I sent you, I think, I sent you guys,
An updated.
Oops.
I sent you the
Got it
updated,
online.
what?
Yeah, I got it online.
Oh, okay. So I sent you the updated modulator and, the $1,376.78. But then Jason, I think, only replied to me, came back with, something for $999. This PVI VECOAX. It says, if they replace the existing analog modulator with this or rack mount equivalent, it would make the installation very simple. They'd remove the existing modulator and mount the HD modulator in its place, set the output channel of the modulator, and retune the 8 monitors to the new HD channel. There must be a signal splitter for the existing modulator, which could be used with the new HD modulator. So I went online and I printed it and printed out all the information, but PASIC was not open today because of the marathon, because they're based in Boston. So I'm not sure. I understand that there's probably $1,000 cost, but there's still got to be something for installation.
I thought that was on there.
No, not on what Jason gave us.
Oh, no, but
So-
what
That's
PASIC
straightforward.
recorded.
Yeah.
It's a matter of taking one modulator out out of the rack and putting a new one in and
Yep.
connecting it, and then,
Their material price was about the same, $746.
yeah, but it's a different way. They're doing it a different way, which won't give you the same results.
And 630 for installation.
So I guess my hopes of moving on tomorrow's not going to happen because I got to get a hold of PASIC. I mean, if, see if we can go from there.
Yeah, but again, I think that they can at least put us on the docket to come up and finish what they started.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I just wonder if this is going to be compatible with the other stuff. That's the only thing.
What's that?
What Jason had
Oh,
priced.
yeah, it's definitely compatible. He wouldn't have given it to you if it wasn't.
But the other thing is the other thing I'm going to think about too is yes, maybe it's the actual use, but if they're not a vendor for that, we can't hold them accountable for that. And they're not going to warranty it. That's the thing.
Well, that's an off-the-shelf thing, like anyone can go in and buy that.
Right, I understand that, but if they're not a vendor for it, they're not going to stand behind it.
So if we have them install it and it goes bad, it's not their problem.
Or
It's
if it does something and takes their equipment out, it's all us. And I really don't want to take that burden. I'm not saying that
Well, I think we should.
I'm not
it's
saying
been
that
this
maybe they
long,
don't
we might as
have.
well just send it back to him and see what he thinks.
Right. I'm not saying that the actual application or the actual modulator idea is not. They could probably have something in their lines
Yep.
to do that. I just don't want to have an oddball that they say no, we don't service that. We don't know anything about it. We'll put it in there for you, but it's on your own, and then it'll be a finger point game. if
Well, I
something
think,
goes down.
like I said, I'd hope to do that, but I think we have to
Right.
at least go back to them
Yep.
and ask that.
Oh,
So we
absolutely.
can
I
do
think
that.
so. I agree. But I just
The safety complex roof, are we finally ready to put this out?
So we went out, Sherry and I went over and we looked at it, and there are vents in either end of the, over the apparatus.
Yep.
the fire apparatus, and there is a vent over the PD Sallyport, and there is a vent over the meeting room on the very north corner.
Okay.
But we don't know if those ones from the Sallyport and the meeting room connect. We're assuming no. We're assuming they don't, because there's probably some sort of a firewall there, and or petition. So kind of needs to be looked at. Not saying that a ridge vent won't substantially help the whole situation.
Definitely will.
But we just, we kind of make sure that if we need to put fans in, thermostatically controlled fans, that we start thinking about that too in the bid.
Or if we need proper vents put in because they've blown insulation in and closed those vents off because that front roof's a mess.
Could be.
We really don't know, and we don't know what the airflow is up there, which they should be able to measure that. But
But our
anyway,
bid says install airflow for eaves.
Yep.
Won't they tell us what they're gonna install?
well, I called Energy Improvements, the same people that did all the insulation for the stone building and the vapor barrier, and the owner is willing to come over and take a look at that Thursday night, 4:30. So if we can hold off a week, probably have a lot better thing. And they do roofing too, so I mean, if they may want to give you a quote anyway.
Well, at that point, I think that'd be a conflict of interest.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
Yeah.
they're gonna tell us what to put in and then give us a quote. We
Yeah,
run
it's gonna be
into that.
conflict of interest. We can't do that.
We can't do that.
We can't accept the quote from them if they're gonna do that for us.
And that's exactly where we are, and the mess that we're in with the security cameras.
Right.
We tried to get someone to do this for us.
Right.
But they wanted to bid, and we said no.
Right.
So what do we wanna do then?
Well, I think we need to have it at least looked at as far as venting, because again, we don't wanna have another 15 years and have the roof be junk. I mean, and,
But will that be part of the bid, or
Yeah,
will
have
have
to
two
be.
different people do it?
what's that, the venting?
Yeah, I mean,
You're probably gonna need an electrician to put in
Right.
fans, if
Yep.
that's what we need to do.
Yep.
But to me, that would be under the RFP, is to have the roofing vendor put them in, but that's really not in the scope of a roof, if you ask
Yeah.
me.
You're gonna have to have
That's our homework,
you're gonna
if
have
you
to
ask
have
me.
you're gonna have to have an
totally
electrician
different
work
than
with
putting a
the
roof on.
Right. It's one thing to ask for a ridge vent, but it's another thing to say you're gonna put all the venting in.
power vents. Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not opposed to having that gentleman come over,
No.
but he would, I mean, we could take his bid, but it wouldn't,
He'd be
you know what I'm
excluded,
saying? It would be
basically.
a tough,
Yeah.
because he's writing the spec.
Would have to, yeah, would have to
He
exclude
may
them.
not be writing the spec, but he's at least gonna tell us what's wrong.
Right, but if his company wanted to write a spec, that would be,
That's not right.
that would
I
be
think we'd
right.
have to exclude them.
I don't think we have to have him write the spec, I think we have to let him
If he
tell us.
writes us if he writes up I guess it is a spec per se, that you need this, this, and this, and this is what he thinks you're gonna
With
need.
incorporation with the ridge vent
Yeah.
system,
Yeah,
then
and what,
it's technically a spec.
yeah.
I'm not opposed to it, but what do you wanna do?
I mean, if he comes out and does that, he's gonna have to
Well-
Are you
understand
sure
he'll be,
he's gonna bid on it, Sherry?
Oh, I don't have a clue.
yeah, he'd
Well-
have to be understanding that he'd have to
But-
exclude himself from the bid.
He's really coming out because he was the one I worked with on the stone building, and I didn't ask him to write anything up. I told him what I wanted on
Right.
that job. But, you gotta climb up in that attic area in that building, and it's trussed, and, if you get up in there and you fall and get killed, come down through the ceiling and drop 30 feet. I don't know that I wanna be the one up there crawling around.
So you're saying that it wouldn't be part of the,
I don't feel as that venting would be part of a roofer's contract. That'd be on us as a builder.
Yep,
Right.
as the
The builder.
property owner.
Yeah, as a property owner.
The
So I
venting.
think
so we should know.
I think the roof. I mean, I'm not saying that we should not look into it, because we
Yeah.
definitely should.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking that we can probably move forward with the actual roofing project.
Yep,
And we know we're gonna put a ridge vent in, and then if we need to do,
power vents and.
Then we need to
that
do
as
power
something
vents later.
separate, yep.
I don't think it's gonna be a loss with putting the roof on.
I wouldn't think so.
No.
But we don't, you don't know whether you have enough airflow through the soffits either. I mean, there's a lot of unknowns, but I guess, if you,
I mean, what would the only other solution be? I mean, if you put in the whirligig vents, or, I mean, that really wouldn't be to me, that's more holes in the roof you don't want in there. But But if you gotta do soffit work, that's not the roof. You gotta do eave work. it's
Soffit
not-
work, the soffit vents are there. That's
Right.
whether or not they.
Well, if they're not sufficient, though.
There's no ridge vent, so there's no way for that air to circulate properly up through the top.
And we can have soffit vents, but like we said, we don't know whether they just blew
Turn
the
off or not.
insulation in.
Right.
And there's no prop vents, and if there's no prop vents, then we've got no ventilation anyway.
Yep, that's the other thing.
Right. But with that said, that still rolls back to the building, not the actual roof.
Right.
Right.
Right. I mean, we can put a bigger, we'll say bigger ridge vent if that's an option, 4 or 6 or whatever, like we talked about.
Right.
We can go with a bigger one. Obviously, we need more vent, but I think from there after, it's on us as the property owner.
As the property owner, yep.
Not really the responsibility of the roofer, I would say. Yeah. But there was a question that I raised kind of when we were over there at the station was, now that we're not doing the decision's kind of been made not to do the water block,
Good night.
Over the whole roof.
over the whole roof.
Night.
Have a good night, Peter. Now we're not doing the ice and water barrier over the entire roof. The cost of that alone is substantial.
Yeah.
Are we getting closer to a metal roof cost now?
Well, you don't have money for a metal roof,
Yep.
because that's not what we put in the budget.
I understand that, but when we went out for a
even
bid,
without
They were
that,
twice as much. The
you're
metal
gonna-
roofs were twice
it's gonna
as
be
much.
over twice as much, depending on what.
but that was with the,
The ice and shit, it's not gonna take,
Ice
that's
water
not gonna
sheet.
deduct that much from it, that you'll be able to afford.
that's a
That's
couple
lot of
$100 a
money.
rolls.
Yeah.
It's a couple hundred
$75 a roll.
90
I know,
feet,
'cause I bought a
80,
lot of
90
it.
feet long.
Well, I just didn't know if it was worth looking
A
into,
lot of
that's all.
rolls to cover that
But-
roof.
That's gonna be, that's still not gonna cover, because the biggest expense was putting a metal roof on that building. You're gonna have to move vehicles back on the backside, because it's gonna drop right on where they park.
Okay.
So you'll
I
have to
just-
move the parking lot.
okay.
So, I mean, you're gonna dwindle part of your parking space when you start thinking about that. The other thing with a metal roof is there's a lot of hips and valleys in there.
Mm-hmm.
And in the, that's where some of the cost comes in, because now you gotta start doing all those cuts and made it up, so you don't have leaks.
Okay.
And that's the biggest thing.
Just a thought.
So, I
Okay,
mean,
so,
Well, I
let's
mean,
get
he-
back to this other part of it.
I've put those metal roofs in. I did that with a guy one whole summer, and it's like, there's a lot of work, and
Lot
then
of
when you
work,
start
alright.
cutting them in, and you
All right,
gotta.
if it's not feasible, it's
And
not
then
feasible.
you're gonna start putting a lot of that ice and water shield up with those.
Yeah, all those valleys
All
are.
those valleys, and you're gonna put it out.
All right. You got,
Sherry, this gentleman that you had coming, was he going to put these vents or whatever
No, he's coming to look to see what he recommends gets done.
prior to?
Yeah, he
Okay.
can bid on the roof if he wants, because
it's not, yeah.
it's nothing to
Not
do with
part of the
that.
roof.
It's not, but, right, exactly, yes.
But then we've got to put it out, we've got to put a bid out to get this fixed. Oh, I don't
If,
know.
if
Well,
it's,
that's a
if it's
separate-
deemed, yes.
Yeah,
That's a
I'm
separate
sure it's
bid,
gonna be-
See-
Yes,
We'll see
I
what it
believe
says.
that's a separate bid.
Right.
Yeah, I'm not saying he can't bid on the roof, per se,
Hmm.
but if we have that RFP written that says you will take care of the venting, as far as anything more than the ridge vent, which is what's in their realm, I think
no.
that needs to be
Well, it
stricken.
needs to
No.
be.
I think it needs to be stricken.
separate.
I think that needs to be separate.
It needs to be separate.
Yeah, because all they're
So
gonna
have him
do,
come out and look at it and tell
Right,
us
you know,
what's
just as
wrong.
venting.
Then the
Just the
soffit vent
venting.
wouldn't even come under the,
and then he
under
could
the roof.
bid on the roof if he wanted to. But-
Right,
But I think,
it's not part of the spec.
right, right. Get all that?
No, where are we?
We're going out to having this gentleman come in on.
Okay, but
and
if
look
you're
at
gonna
it.
put so what are we taking off the ice and water shield?
Well,
Because right now it
think what-
says
Two
tear off the
layers, I
existing.
think we discussed 2 layers of ice
I
and
think
water.
I think what we ought to do is leave it up to the roofing contractor. He's the one that's gonna put it up there, so leave it up to him. If we start doing that, if something happens because of us doing that, what's gonna happen is we're gonna own the thing again. Let the roofing contractors spec out what they're gonna need.
But I think if you give it, I think if you don't put it in there, they're not gonna put it on.
Well, if you turn around and tell them that, part of it's gonna be, we want the use of ice and water shield, and see what they come back with,
If appropriate.
if appropriate. But, leave that up to them, because if you turn around and say, yeah, you need it, if they say you need it all the way to the top, and I know the other part of it, and then we say no, and then there's a leak,
it's on us.
Yeah, it all comes back to us. So if you narrow it down too much like that, they're the professionals. They're the ones that do it every day. It's like me coming in and telling you how to bend wrenches up at the
And this is why,
garage.
and this leads us into line number 13 on the government building sheet.
Yep.
So are you saying, right now it says tear off existing roof to the wood deck and dispose of same.
Yep.
Please note that any deck replacement required after ripping the roof will be done at a time and materials basis. That's number one.
That's correct.
Yep.
2 says install ice and water shield on the entire roof.
Just put down.
Install ice and water barrier.
shield.
As
Yeah,
best
ice and water shield.
best practice?
Yeah,
Install ice and water barrier.
water shield,
As best
Okay.
practice.
is following best practice, to follow best practices. I'll leave them go with that. That way it's open-ended on either end, and let the professional do it. Like I said, they're the ones that got
So
the
take
insurance.
off on the entire roof.
Yep.
Yes.
And then 3 is install the ridge vent, 4 is install airflow from the eaves, 5 was install white aluminum drip edge, 6 was reshingle with a 50-year commercial grade architectural asphalt shingle.
Yep.
7, flash all roof penetrations as per manufacturer spec. Then 8 is contractor must be authorized factory installer of the product used. 9, I put building will be 100% functional while work being provided. And then it says provide waste disposal services and pay all disposal fees. Clean site daily and leave in secure condition at the end of the day. Contractor proposal shall include not less than 3 references from similar projects as well as locations of projects where a representative example of quality work has been observed, may be observed, sorry. Provide certificate of insurance, bids are due at 4 o'clock. I put the 29th, because I have to put it in the paper. And then open that evening, and that's all I had.
I would remove the soffit line.
Yeah, I was gonna.
Soffit doesn't come under the roof, though.
No, yeah, soffit and eave, yeah.
Yeah.
That doesn't fall under that.
The question I got is,
That's
it's
the contract.
install roof vent. How big a roof vent they gonna put in?
Or ridge
The
vent,
smallest
yeah.
one they
Ridge
can
vent.
put?
Yeah, that's the other thing, that's another issue.
It's gotta
The
go
other
the
thing
full
is-
length of the ridge.
The
I
other
don't know
thing
what
is
size
you
they
want,
come in, but
You want
I
the ridge
definitely
vent.
think we wanna,
The biggest one we can get.
yeah.
So you want
Oh,
it, then you want it
space
the
it's up
full
there.
length of the ridge.
Well, I'm thinking either side of the,
Yeah, but it goes the full length of the ridge, so.
Oh, yeah.
They cut the middle out and they put that over it and you shingle over it. So that way there's airflow. So you gotta, some of them will just put it, oh, I'll put a section in here and I'll go over and put a section in here. But
So
no,
install
you want
ridge
the thing
vent,
to go
what
the
else does
whole
it need to
roof.
say?
what's that?
Install ridge
Saying-
vent.
Yeah,
The entire length of the roof,
entire length of all ridges on the roof.
Yep. On all ridges,
all ridge vent.
And the width,
but I mean,
they come in different widths.
you said I spin wrenches, I don't
Huh?
nail, I spin wrenches, I don't nail
No,
roofs.
I'm saying, it's, the
Yeah,
thing
so I don't
is,
know.
we can spec whatever the width of the ridge vent is, so I mean,
Well, it depends on what the airflow is, so you'll have to do a calculation to know.
the more air you get, the better.
Right.
So, I mean, that's what I'm saying. So you don't go small, go bigger.
So what am I,
With the square footage on the top of that building with the heat beating down on it, the more air you get flowing through it, the better off it's gonna be.
blue tarp's looking prettier at the moment.
Yeah, Vermont roof, Vermont roofing.
The other thing I don't think you mentioned in there is that, a fairly decent quality, or high quality drip edge, because you haven't mentioned that.
I just installed white aluminum drip edge, is all I did. Install airflow for the eaves.
I think,
Install white aluminum drip edge. Reshingle with a 50-year commercial grade architectural asphalt
I
shingle.
think for the eaves, that's a contract.
that's something else,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's
I think
a-
we can pull that one out,
We can pull that,
Pull which
vetting
out?
for the eaves.
the eaves.
'Cause that's something a contractor would do,
That's gonna be,
Building
that's gonna be the.
contractor, not
the-
a roofing
Yeah, that's gonna be the
contractor.
property owner, that's us. It's not the roofer.
All right, so one more time for old time's sake. We're gonna tear off the existing roof to the wood deck and dispose of it. And they're gonna let us know if there's any repairs that need to be done.
Yep.
At time and material basis. They're gonna install a water and ice and water shield to follow best practices. Install ridge vent, entire length on all ridges. Install white aluminum drip edge. Reshingle with a 50-year commercial grade architectural asphalt shingle. Flash all roof penetrations as per manufacturer specifications. Building will be 100% functional while work's being provided. Provide waste disposal services and pay all disposal fees. Clean site daily, and leave in secure condition at the end of each workday. Contractor must be authorized factory installer of the product used. Contractor proposals shall include not less than 3 references for similar projects, as well as locations of said projects where a representative example of quality of the work may be observed. Contractor will provide a certificate of insurance. Are we almost there?
I believe so.
Can you email me that tomorrow when you get done with that, Naomi?
Okay.
I think that,
15-pound felt.
we'll leave that up to him. Leave it up to the contractor. We can't, if we start specifying what he's gonna use and something goes wrong,
Well, I mean, you could end up with a synthetic product or
yeah, let them do that in their bid.
underlayment.
They'll, because if we try to spec it, they'll turn around and there's a leak, we own it, and then we'll be ripping it up and paying more for it, so. That's why they get
Just like the
insurance.
doors.
If we,
I'll just email it to everybody.
Okay, just like the doors.
Just don't reply to all.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's running down that road again. So, I don't wanna run down that road again.
No.
No.
Yeah, those doors are not
So-
too good a shape over there. Did you see them?
Sure, no.
All right.
I don't wanna look at them. I cringe every time I look at them.
They're buckling, they're at the bottom, they're dragging, they've ripped the paint right off the doors now. From it.
That's all I had for the buildings.
Okay.
We're gonna move on to the shorter list now.
yep,
Hey,
Really, the only thing is, I did have a question for you. The ACO position, that was put out before town meeting. And the one application we received shortly after town meeting, so I don't know if the intent
can you,
is there.
do you have that application?
I do have the application, and I'm just wondering if
Can you just
we,
maybe send something to that applicant and say, due to warrant article passage, you're going to rerun the ad?
yeah.
Now that basically the position has changed.
Yep.
As far
it's
as,
changed, and you're also gonna have a different oversight with a new chief.
right, so I think it's only fair to notify
Okay.
and then proceed with a new ad.
Yep.
Any other input? No?
I think that's right, wait till we get the new,
Yeah. I think we should acknowledge that we did receive it.
Mildred Hall, okay, thank you.
Yep.
Mildred Hall,
still waiting.
well, we're still waiting, but it was my understanding that the trustees approved the 50,000 for Emma Sawyer, so I think we have to just wait. Because from the email, once that was approved, there was other things they had to do on their part. The chief search, as you know, we're in progress. We did that, the staffing we did tonight. I just have 2 appointments, but the rest of the week will be normal. I have a couple other things I need to talk about is, we'll need a non-public at the end. There is, the Weare Athletic Club would like to have a parade on May 5th from 8 to 9, and basically what it's gonna do is shut down 114. So the state application requires selectmen/town manager/police, Circle 1, to approve the application, and Sean brought it back to me for the selectmen to sign,
That was nice of him.
because it came to his
A
office.
parting gift.
What is the parade
Who
for?
wants the parade?
Weare Athletic Club did a parade last year to kick off baseball season,
Oh,
and they just close it for a short, it's just a little parade, they all get together team-wise and they walk down through.
So where do they route the traffic?
It says on there, the route.
Duck Pond?
State routes to be traveled, North Stack Highway Route 114, traffic control provided by Weare PD. It doesn't say,
Does it give you the pattern?
no.
Duck Pond
Duck Pond to
to Quaker, or they'll run them all the way down
all the way
Thorndike.
down Thorndike,
Yeah.
back out apparently.
Well, I didn't know if they end up at, Arneson.
Right, so they may just shut it off to Quaker.
Let's see.
That'd be a good walk for them.
May start
Oh,
here
there we
though,
go.
and come out to go to Quaker.
Right.
It goes from Center Road, from the Center Woods Elementary, down 114,
Yeah,
to the middle school.
Oh, that's all?
School to school, okay.
Yep.
School, okay.
That's right. Got
All right,
a
so
little
you'll
map in
have,
here, so,
you'll have to authorize the chairman to sign the parade route
there you go.
for WAC.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Okay, just want clarification, on another item. I had a facility use form filled out, from someone that lives here in town for one of the, candidates for the 2020 presidential election. The Democratic Committee is looking to use the town hall on 420. And the question was asked is, could they use the sign out front in the town hall? I told her I'd have to run it by you, but my instinct
was it?
is that you have
I
a
missed it.
policy that, I'm sorry.
You missed it.
So there's the Democratic Committee would like to use the town hall, which is fine, the date's fine.
Yeah.
But they also asked about using the sign in front of the town hall. And you guys have a political sign policy that says posting of political signage on or in any town owned by Weare is prohibited.
There it is.
So
Yep.
is that,
So no.
okay.
There it
they
is,
asked,
no.
Okay. And just, there's a new thing through Primex, and I'm gonna ask, everybody that's gonna have to use the town hall is there's a TULIP policy, TULIP, which is a tenant user liability and policy, insurance policy. And what it is there's a website you go to, and it's a third-party insurance, but it's very cheap and it protects us. So we're gonna start using that. I know you haven't.
$100 and something dollars.
But, I mean, they wanna use the town hall, and if there's 130 people coming to this event, then somebody, I mean,
Something happens.
if
We don't wanna
something
be
happens or
liable.
somebody falls down, we don't wanna be liable.
Well, I just
So-
have to make sure that's well known, that's all.
Yeah, so what we've,
Are you talking for like all the nonprofits too?
well, nonprofits usually have their own insurance. I mean, I know the nonprofits, the athletic clubs
Yeah,
do,
we
we do, yeah, you guys do. It's the single event user
Yeah.
that what it's made for. If you don't think you wanna have them supply insurance,
Somebody having a baby shower, and they got 100 people coming.
Yeah.
yeah,
Need insurance.
somebody's
Yeah.
gonna fall down. I
Somebody-
mean.
So I think what we need to do then is rewrite what our form
Well, there's
is.
an option here for insurance. It says, the lessee maintains general liability of at least, they hereby apply for $1 million, or they're not required for the event.
I would take away the not required part, and I
Wow.
would say either you provide it with documentation and/or you purchase it.
Well, I mean, you could leave the not required, because if it's a not-for-profit, they're not required.
Right.
So you have to check the box, that's all
Well,
it is.
no, but if this,
School, it's not
School.
required.
That's, but,
well, yeah, I understand that. What I'm saying is on the top of it, you want, what was the first line you said?
The lessee maintains general liability insurance of at least $1 million.
So that is applicable. There it is.
Yeah, because we
Check.
swap schools.
And we'll take a copy of that. Thank you.
yeah, but I'm saying it's not.
Well, unless you want to, I mean, I talked to the schools starting to use it. Because the Old Home Day wanted to use it for the reunion, and the school made them fill out this form, or supply insurance, or fill out, I'm sorry, supply insurance.
Proof of insurance.
So I called Primex, and the TULIP is a lesser avenue for those that don't have insurance. But at the same time, it's based on, there's a lot of questions as to what you're doing, how many people are coming, how long you're gonna use the building. There's a lot of questions that only the person that's using the town hall knows. So, what it's gonna do, though, it's gonna deter the renters. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But it's the same thing. Our insurance company's been preaching the TULIP policy as a third-party coverage.
Yeah, but is that because it's a kickback sales thing for them, or
No, I
is
mean, I
it
could
just
send it
a?
to you.
I mean,
Well,
is
it's
there
to cover
something
us,
we
I
can,
think.
if we're renting it out, can we carry something?
We do.
I know we do, but I'm saying, you're saying third party, so can we put that?
Well, this is just third party. This is somebody else. This is a whole organization.
They
renting it out.
go online and fill it out, and that's
So,
it, they got the insurance.
I think I
wasn't
gave
that
it to
easy.
you.
But
I
let
just
me.
went through it for
This
the-
one here for Primex, I looked at the form.
No, she used.
I
that.
just
you
did
did?
it, I just did it.
Oh.
I
But-
didn't
but-
do it personally, but somebody did, and it's not that.
Where does it stop, though? Do we have to have Weare Athletic Club prove that they have it to go on Isom Field? That's town property.
They're supposed to.
I don't know.
Provide it for football.
Okay, I mean, I'm just asking, where does it stop? Somebody uses Chase Park for a birthday event. Do they have to supply it?
I'm just asking you. I mean,
I just
we've never
no,
done
I'm-
it.
I'm not disagreeing, but where does it stop? That's where I'm asking.
Well, I mean, you could say, you know.
Town
okay,
land.
It's town land, and we're liable for it. So if something happens and somebody goes up there and has a birthday party and they get
Yeah, do you really think they're gonna call?
half in the bag and they
here
fall
and
down, and you
tell
don't
you,
think that
"Hey,
somebody's
we're
gonna say, oh, I
having
stepped
going
in a
up to
chuck
Chase
hole up
Park
there,
and
they're
having
not
a
gonna sue
birthday
you?
party." You're never gonna even know they're having it.
At Chase
Right.
Park.
Yeah. Sometimes they
Sometimes
do.
if they want to use the pavilion and specifically block it off, they
Yeah.
fill out a form.
They fill out a form.
Yeah, because they've done that before. We've
Yeah.
had weddings there, we've had other things there.
The Boy Scouts go up there and use it, and they have to fill out the
Some of
form.
those organizations, though, have insurance.
Yep.
Some, but not all.
Not
That's
The
what I'm
WAC
saying.
does, the football does, Historical Society does, the school, we
Scouts do.
share, Scouts do, Girl Scouts do.
Does the Patriotic Celebration Committee?
I'm sure they have insurance.
Yeah.
You guys must pay insurance, don't you?
Miller has insurance.
That's
for the-
right,
for the
that's right,
school.
he supplies the insurance
Miller
policy
has-
for that.
in-
Miller sends us one, he did
Miller
last year.
sends it,
Yeah.
and Atlas has the insurance for fireworks.
Yep, they have $1 million,
Okay.
$5 million.
Somebody-
What about
policy.
the other vendors?
Somebody takes a digger in the parade. That's on you guys. I'm just saying, where does it stop?
You're
I
right,
don't,
where does it
where does it
stop?
stop?
Where does it
It is
But
good.
nowadays, it's like,
You know,
you don't know.
the parade was being
But I'm
hosted by the
saying it came
Patriotics.
to
I don't
our
know.
light- It came to light because of the reunion wanting to use the school.
Class reunion.
And that, the school said, sorry, you have to provide insurance. So I get a phone call saying, how come I have to provide insurance? We're gonna do this at the Old Home Day. So I reached out to Primex, and that's where this whole tulip policy came
Yeah,
from.
and I'm not
No.
denying that it's the potential is always there. I just don't know
Yeah.
where you draw the line, and
I
that's
know.
kind of where I want to know
Probably
is.
go to a regular private insurance
think you can
company
draw
and
a
get
line.
it.
I don't think you can
I
either,
don't
but
think you can.
geez,
that?
But who's gonna do the
gonna do the
determining?
yeah,
But
who's
you
gonna
know,
police it?
these are all, wait a second now. And I understand the reasoning for them for wanting that. The buildings are paid for by the taxpayers, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
They pay for the insurance too. That's on the buildings.
Yeah, but you want to,
I don't,
you want to pay out a third-party liability suit for somebody if they're over in this, how many people are coming to this?
130 they've got.
130, and one of them walks out the door and takes a
Where are
header
they,
on it.
130, you don't, does that even?
I don't know.
160.
Oh, it does?
160.
we're talking about the reunion?
No, I'm talking about at the,
That's
like,
the
An
the
event that's.
the event, that's a private group of,
Okay.
But to me, that is a, but again, where you, I mean, the
Oh.
reunion's a bunch of private people coming back too.
Exactly, well, I
they're all
understand,
people
yeah,
that
well, it's all people that
went to
used
school
live
in
But they
Weare.
don't live in town anymore.
Right.
Some may not.
Okay, so what about a group of guys
thing is,
wants to
it's a
go
s-
down and use the basketball court at the school?
I don't know what the school does.
that's up to the school.
I'm
see.
thinking the school's making them fill out a policy because
Yeah.
they did Old Home Day.
Pair of people
Right,
wanna
that's
go-
what I'm saying.
That's the school,
tennis
though. Like,
court.
we have no say over that.
Tennis
'cause
court's
that's-
town.
Tennis court, they don't
Stop.
even fill out a form to use.
It's not Old Home Day, really. It's
But-
just
but
that the.
where do you draw the line?
Class reunion is on that day,
The
so it's
school-
a
the
class
school,
reunion.
so we don't have much say over
No, I know that,
Okay.
but I'm saying tennis courts are ours.
Yeah.
So now you're gonna have to have.
Well, if you
a
post it, you
liability
use it at your, if you post that, you use it at your own risk.
Well, I'm
That's the
sorry I
difference,
opened up the door here.
Oh, no, I'm not. No, I'm glad you did open it because it raises a lot of questions. It
But
just,
I
it's,
think to use a town facility like they
But when
wanna
you
do,
got four
you get them
people
the
go out and
insurance.
play tennis on the tennis court, they gotta have.
Then you put a sign that says you're out there at your own liability. It's like swimming at the Chase Park. Are we
Well,
gonna, there's no lifeguard and they go swimming
The
and
lifeguard
drown.
sign that says swim at your own risk, if they're not there.
So what happens?
use use old buildings at own risk.
Yeah. I think that's a little different, but
I don't know.
I don't think there's an
We're-
easy
it's a
answer, but
locked,
this is for
secure
this
facility.
coming Saturday, so the answer to the town hall sign is no.
no. Yeah.
Correct.
The other, I think, is a bigger discussion.
I think so too.
Have.
That
Can
maybe.
we see what other towns do? I mean, we just had the event for the dogs.
Oh, the vaccination.
Yeah, so what are you gonna do there? If there's, these
The
are
dogs
town
break
people
a
coming
leg.
in and they're,
But that's a town, that's us doing
Town
it.
sponsored.
It's a town sponsor.
That's us doing it. The clerk's
Well,
doing it.
yeah,
But
rabies
who
clinic?
provides the service?
Doctor?
Dr. Dutton does it,
Dr.
but it's
Dutton,
all
but
our.
he's got liability
volunteer.
insurance.
It's all the staff goes
He does a
over,
freebie,
the
but
staff
if he
and
stabs the
the.
dog the wrong way, he's covered. He's got his own.
Somebody trips and falls in
He
the rabies
uses the town
freaking.
hall.
It's a town, this
Falls on the
is,
step going in.
yeah, this is, but that's a town-run function, so we're insured for it. We're having
Is
a
it?
private third party do it.
Yeah, we're running that event.
Yeah.
The dog clinic? Yeah, we run that.
Oh, I'm not saying that we need to change that. What I'm saying
Yeah.
is, one of the assistants trips over the needle and bails himself.
That's on them.
Since when? We sponsored it.
Exactly.
It's a town
Yeah,
event.
it's on them if one of the medical staff trips and falls on the needle.
Oh,
or
I
goes
sure
on
hope so.
Dutton.
I sure hope so. But you know what I'm saying, Jack? That's what I'm saying. It's just, where do you draw the line?
No, I'm saying,
I don't know.
It's a town-sponsored
That's why I brought
function.
it
Do you
up,
want,
because I don't know
do you want a
either.
private function, and that's what I'm looking at.
I think the dog thing is different.
Yep.
We sponsored it, so it's our
sponsored it.
liability, whatever happens.
Okay, we may have to,
That's just my,
I think we need to cross a bridge with Primex here, as far as where you draw the lines. I think these are all valid questions.
So what are you gonna, are you gonna
wanna
require? Are you gonna require them Saturday to have 120 people in there at a rally, not to have insurance? And if something happens,
So if I
well,
come up and I say, Naomi, I want to use the town hall, I'm having a baby shower, I'm gonna have 100 people. Am I gonna have to go get insurance to use the town hall?
No, you're gonna use that tulip.
I know, but it's not cheap.
It's $120. It's gonna cost you $150 to use the hall. And by the way, there's no amenities.
there's no alcohol.
Right.
Yep.
No alcohol, no candles.
Yep.
I think at that rate, and I hate to say it, you're gonna have a big vacant structure for a long time over there.
Exactly.
Nobody's
And I-
gonna go.
Well, then
And I don't
go
wanna
to
see that either.
Go to another insurance agent and see if you can get it cheaper from them.
I don't know. I'm just saying.
Yeah,
I
no,
want
good points.
clarification from Primex on that a little
Yeah.
bit. That's all.
Well, that's what the school had, what the school wanted. I don't know, maybe there's something else. Oh,
So I don't know,
that's cheaper.
but good point.
Yeah. All right, we're not done yet.
I didn't think you were.
So whatever gets down there, John, you can hold on to it.
Good.
So, you all, this is old news. Our medical insurance is up 4.9%.
Was that determined? Did we know that already?
Did somebody get hurt?
No, our health insurance.
Health
But
insurance.
Oh, health.
But we had anticipated that, correct?
We had anticipated not much different than that. It was, I think our GMR was, I wanna think 5, but I don't remember.
I thought that's what you said.
So they've been settled, and the rate as of July 1st of 19 is a increase of 4.9%. This lists the 18-19 rates, and it has a place for the chair. So you have to make a motion.
There you go. Make a motion that the
Health trust.
health chairman be allowed to sign the health trust insurance form.
Is there a second?
With an increase of
Second.
4.9%.
Yeah.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Then I'm gonna send down, as of 2018, we, per town meeting, got rid of the 50 by 50 turnaround on Pine Hill. And so with the plan and the town meeting vote, I'm gonna pass down to you the quitclaim deed so we can get this cleaned up. Just need to sign the back page. We have the application ready for the bond bank. Sorry, I have to be the minute taker too. So we need to authorize the chair. Now, what we're gonna do is, we're gonna submit this, but it's not gonna be, we have every right to pull it until May 20th. So we're gonna submit it with the understanding that before we can't pull the trigger, I'm gonna ask the bond bank for an estimate of what it could be, but they've been running a lot less than the banks, but I need the chairman authorization for the bond bank. Beth and I worked on that with the SAU to fill out the application.
Make a motion that we allow the chairman of the board to sign the contract with the New Hampshire Municipal Bond Bank for a requested loan amount of $2.5 million.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Ricky,
Town
there's one
defaults, it goes to
other,
Ricky's pocket.
you filled this out last
Show
year.
your house,
You filled
Ricky.
this out last year with Beth for the auditor.
Thank you.
So last year's copy is here as well as this year's copy. And I'm not sure that, I think you signed it one night with
You're
us.
supposed to hold it.
Yep.
It's just a questionnaire I filled
She's
out,
fine.
you fill out as chairman.
Yeah.
If you think there's fraud going on here,
Yeah, he's got his, he signed it.
I'm
so
sitting
it's
right
gotta go
here.
back to the auditor. Okay, we're almost done.
you
Thanks
go,
for
Rick.
bearing with me. Then if you remember the Clough State Park, last year we had a, before they open, there's potential, there's some police coverage that we contract with them, and they pay us obviously back for that. So they're looking at one officer for 40 hours an officer, and one cruiser for 40 hours a cruiser, for Saturday, June 30th through Tuesday, July 3rd, 4 hours per day. July 8th, 4th is 8 hours a day, and then additional hours as needed. This is just the intent and the cost schedule, and from here, Mike French wasn't sure that he signed it or you signed it, so he sent it over here last time we signed it.
Who is the entity again?
State of New Hampshire Division of Parks and Rec for Chase Park,
Oh, okay.
Clough State Park.
We did it last year, right?
Yeah, we
We
did
did it last year, and they reimburse us if we send a person over there.
Okay.
So it just, they have to contractual, so if we want to, we have to authorize him, Ricky, to sign it, or you can authorize Mike French to. It allows,
Can we see it?
yeah, go ahead. I made it smaller so it fit on one page.
Excellent.
Save paper.
Get your glasses out.
Well, it was, I enlarged it a little bit.
Yeah, didn't we sign this last year?
You did sign it last year.
Yeah.
That's just, they need that back from us so they can do the contract with us.
Yeah.
But if you want to sign it, it tells you the hours in the block that they need us.
Okay.
It's just mainly for the, looks like 4th of July
Yeah.
coverage. And then in July if they needed us.
It looks like it's for,
The whole year. July 1st, 2019 through June 30th, 2000.
That's their,
That's their state
that's the
fiscal
state's
year.
fiscal year.
But then if you look in the square, keep
tells
going
you
over
the
to the
dates.
right, it tells you July,
Saturday, June
yeah.
30th through Tuesday the
Oh,
3rd.
hmm.
Yeah, it tells you the
Yeah.
hours they needed.
Mhm.
See, she has to put that together for a.
We signed this last year?
Yeah.
It says chief of police or designee and title.
Well, that's what I'm saying. He's the interim, that's why we came over here.
Yeah.
You can
And
do
I-
it that
I think
way, or
we
you can
signed it, and I
authorize
think
him
we
to sign
signed it last year.
No, I think Sean signed it.
Did he sign it
but
last year?
He's
I
on
Yeah,
the
I don't
sheet.
remember signing this last year.
Well-
I remember being notified of it, but I
Yeah,
don't
remember
do
remember
you
seeing it.
want, do you want to sign it, or do you want Mike to sign it?
I would say we have Mike sign it.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm fine with it. I just don't remember signing it last year, and I think it's.
So you
He's
guys
only
are
the
okay to
interim
authorize-
administrator, so we'll have to make a motion to authorize him to sign
Yeah.
it, I guess.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That was quick. I didn't even finish saying it, so moved.
Sorry. So just, one other thing I just want to remind you, I gave you guys a package for next week. I'd like you to read it. It has to do with, don't do them that often, it's to do with the discretionary preservation easement for the barns.
Oh, yeah.
Both candidates are coming in. We talked about the first one, and then we never got him back here. So where there's a second application, I figured we might as well make it while it's fresh in your mind. So what I've included to you is, the meeting notice. Then there is I gave you some information I got today off of the state, I think it was the state, yeah, tax incentive mechanism. It talks about a purpose mechanism. Then it talks about the 10 tips for the applicants, so you guys can read through that, and the RSA. And then, attached to the very back is the 3 that you currently have. And the minutes were attached to it, to what you provided, because you have to dedicate the percentage. So there's the 3 minutes that you guys did, not necessarily you guys, but the board did, okay? So that's just preparation for next week, so we're not looking at each other. And then at the end of the evening, we will need non-public for a taxpayer item under C, and then probably B.
Yep.
Okay. Sorry, I took all the wind out of the room.
You want me to open the window? Get some air in.
All right, John's got my stack down there, okay. 6. Okay, now you're on to correspondence.
I got a ton.
Okay, is that what I sent you?
Uh,
You'll let me share, though.
Kind of yes and no.
Oh my God, what's that? I didn't. I didn't have the heart to scan this to you.
What do you got there? Anything good?
Want me to start?
Yeah.
You might as well.
Yeah.
So I received this in today's mail, and this is from a gentleman that is, I say gentleman, Skylar Woolsey from Ballston Spa, New York.
Been there.
And, oh, you have? And it says he's lived there for 20, this person's lived there for 23 years with his brother, I don't know, I say his, my brother and our parents. He's researched the town of Weare and the busy intersections, and he is enclosed some suggestions, but I can't make heads or tails of it.
I'm pretty good with chicken scratch and hieroglyphics.
Yeah.
Not certified.
You know, I appreciate that, but I don't know. It says he knows we're busy people and appreciate us to look at his ideas. If you want me to scan it and send it, I'll entertain it.
Yeah, sure. Scan and send it. We'll look at it.
Yep.
If you can figure it out.
A little bit of a stretch from Ballston Spa, but that's fine.
You must have traveled through here.
I've never, yeah, he must have.
Father's
'cause-
hand right now.
that?
I figured my father's hand right now.
Yeah.
I was the only one in the family that could read it.
Did you
All right,
copy it
and
too?
then you guys all got one of these except for
Actually, I've
John.
written his handwriting. It was pretty
Except,
good.
So he-
it's just for the file. I don't know why John didn't get one, but this
Yep.
is
Probably because your
more
family used to own it.
information, but we get one every year.
Oh.
And then, I don't know if you're gonna go over what I sent you.
Which one?
We had a,
Eastwood
we had a
Drive.
DPW guy give us those.
Yes, yes, I was gonna bring that up too.
Okay.
Yeah, so under correspondence, we did have a DPW worker give his notice, and I'd like to bring him in for an exit interview if possible.
Okay,
His impact, I think, will be felt.
okay.
So
All right, I'll get a hold of him.
Yep. I got an email this morning.
That you shared?
That I shared with you, to share with the board.
Yep.
About a truck on
Riverdale Road.
Riverdale. Was there for 15 minutes waiting. I believe that that CJ Bolton is not open till 7 o'clock. Am I saying that correctly?
I don't know that he goes there.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know either.
I think he was lost. I'm just gonna say, I watched the video.
Yeah.
Because he pulled, right where that picture was taken.
Yeah.
He pulled off 114 and he stopped.
Just past where the
Just past the little island.
centered
And he
island.
pulled over there. So he was either going down to Gary Remelard's to take material.
Right.
Or he was traveling to another pit.
And he got
So
lost.
it's not necessarily,
I don't think it's a common occurrence.
it's not, but I don't think he's a common driver. I've never seen that truck.
No.
So I'm wondering
I don't remember.
if it was somebody that was either lost or pulled over
Making a phone call.
to make a phone call where you can.
Right.
I mean, it's the first time I've seen or heard from that with
Yeah,
regards to
yeah.
that, but
Somebody in the neighborhood took a photo for you?
yeah, they took a
Video.
video and sent it to all of you. Ricky
Well,
sent it to me and I
They
sent it
to me
all
and I
of you.
sent it to all the board. Right.
I don't know
So,
if I get the video.
I guess
That's
I don't
let's
know.
go see if it happens again.
Well, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I've never.
Can you get the number plate?
Oh no.
No, it was the side of the truck.
Side of the
and
truck.
You don't, I couldn't make out the truck because you can't enlarge the video.
No, and
You can
and
only
it's-
see a last name on the top of a trailer.
Yeah, it's sketchy at best too. I
Yeah,
was
I
very
can hardly read
scribbly.
it.
Yeah, so I couldn't get that either. What? Why did it say Jeff? I shouldn't say Jeff. I should say you. I thought I had other things to talk about too. I
Did I
did.
already beat you to it?
No, that was just one of them. I was gonna forward it to the board, and I didn't. The Southern New Hampshire Planning Commission apparently released their, report on their survey for the town.
Yeah, I
And
saw
Where in
that.
the World did publish it, and it says Ware Community Survey results. And I took a read of that, and, I think we as selectmen really need to take that to heart. At the end of the article, it says download the full report and I think we really need to look at that and see a lot of it. A lot of it was stuff we already knew, as far as, information. I got this paragraph right here. 40% said they were full, and there was 383 people surveyed, and 40% said they fully or somewhat are informed on town happenings. 60% they are sometimes, not really, or never informed, and more than 60% said they get their local information through word of mouth and Ware-centered Facebook pages. 50% said they get it from Where in the World, and when asked to improve communication, more than half replied, provide a better town website and set up a town-specific Facebook site. So, I think that's a
Yeah.
pretty substantial majority.
Now, is that all part of Article 27 that we appointed?
I
Why
don't-
didn't we get some information back personally?
Because they've been having their meetings on Monday nights and I can't go.
Well, I mean,
Well, I mean, the
They-
committee can come back here and
Right.
give us
They can
information.
email you their minutes to you.
yeah.
I don't think that
mean,
they're done yet either, though. That's probably
No.
why.
And,
But they can
how many
still
people did they
forward
actually
Well,
interview? That's the other.
383.
300.
No, no, I mean,
the minutes.
I understand it all, and I'm not trying to, poke a bear here, to be honest with you. It's just, we get poked at for, it was Article 27 that the townspeople wanted to see. So I mean, we can go down, I don't always pick up that little paper, I only knew it came out a day early, because I wanted to put something in it. So it came out Tuesday, when I was looking to put something in, but doesn't matter. We can go look and download it, but, here again, we talk about communication. And Article 27 derived from town meeting. And the age-friendly, the application came through us.
Well, maybe
So
it's
if
just a
that's
break in
part
the
of-
communication from us asking for it. I don't know.
No, I don't mind. I mean, Mike and I get along fine, and I think
Yeah.
Mike does a tremendous job with that paper, and a lot of people use it, as you know. I'm just saying that,
He's also chairman of the committee.
yeah.
Well, no. What I'm saying though is
yeah.
maybe he doesn't know that we're really looking for their input or status reports.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I didn't realize there was even a survey. I don't know where it went,
Right.
so.
Yeah.
I didn't
So.
see it, didn't come to me, but I'm just saying, I think
Didn't see what
all
it
around that just goes to show that we all need some improvement.
No, I
It's
agree.
not just us sitting at this table.
No, I agree.
Oh, no, but I mean, I think that, I wouldn't have taken that really personally to us.
No, I wouldn't. No, I'm just saying.
No, I didn't, I
I think
wasn't
it's just
taking it that way.
communication. I mean, all of us, the Weare Historical Society, I'm sure WAC, I'm sure all these other places, getting the communication out to the townspeople is like pulling teeth.
Right.
It's the.
It really is.
I think it's a
It's
busy
one of
lifestyle.
the biggest problems that we have in this town.
Absolutely, it shows right there.
Exactly. So, I mean, that's the way I take that.
No, I did too. I just, and I'll,
And this is a very, very brief synopsis of what I think the
and I
commission's
know it was
was 27 or
unfortunate
29
that's
pages.
they had the meeting with Southern New Hampshire Planning
Nope.
last
I
Monday.
had this for a few days.
I know
And now that we
it's
have
like-
new members
April
on the
10th.
Parks Committee too, like Parks and Rec, I think maybe you will have more
I know the
input
name
from
of the
them.
construction company, that truck.
Oh, okay. Well, whatever.
That's Warren
Yeah, no,
Construction. They're out of
I
Hudson.
didn't mean it by any, I'm just saying that the
No, I don't-
communication, you know what I mean? I know it was last Monday.
Right.
Because I mean, that's how I remembered the 18th minutes, because Neil said Helene couldn't be here. She was over there, which is tough.
Right.
I mean, they sent out a calendar to try to figure out how everybody can best meet, and they pick a day that works for the 90 percentile, you know what I mean?
Sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes. No, I think it is a good thing, and I didn't, honestly, I don't have the online. I don't have,
Yeah.
unless I pick it up downstairs. I don't read it, Maybe I should.
Yeah.
In your spare time.
Whenever I see it.
No, I
pick it
never,
up.
I hear a lot of good things about that,
Yeah.
and
Oh,
I think it's
this
a great
paper's a
thing,
great
yeah.
little paper. It's
Yep.
I think
it's
it's
awesome.
absolutely
It's
wonderful.
absolutely wonderful. Every time I see a new edition of it, I grab it at Dunkin's. Every time.
Really?
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah.
If I
Guess
see
it'll
it,
get
I
out
grab
And,
it.
and while I wait for my food to be made, I browse through it. And I don't
And I
even attempt the crossword puzzle because I have no idea how to do them. So
I try to keep up on
I
this
leave the
every
last
week.
page for somebody else.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of good comments.
There's a lot of
Yeah.
good comments
Oh,
in
good
it.
information.
And actually, this one, the one that just got released today, the
Okay.
front cover is Steve Roberts being presented by the Board of Fireworks
I
with
saw
a
that in the messenger, yeah.
with a plaque. So
Yep.
Yep.
I think it's great. You know,
Yep.
it spreads the word.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
and that's just
But
it.
as that said, to 50%.
Right, 50 or 60%. Right.
Yeah.
So
Which
I
is
just-
good. I mean, that's more than.
Right. I just
get other
think it's
things
a
out
really
there.
good. It's a
Well,
tool.
he only sends out like, what, 700 or 800 of those total? To the, and there's 9,000, well, there's 6,000
There's a lot you can
voters in Wayne.
subscribe to, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, but there's also that Weare NH Facebook page that has 800 some odd voters that I mean followers
Yeah.
that you know, and I think that's huge too. You know, and I think it was, you know, I don't know,
Yeah.
just a thought.
Yeah.
That's all. So
Did you have anything more?
I know I did, but I can't remember it right now.
I think what else I sent you.
You
So
having a brain freeze?
I am.
Did I send you anything
No
else?
trip.
Yeah, don't fall.
Oh, I know what I was gonna say.
What?
We had a we had a medical fire call on Friday night, early Saturday morning.
Tim, you going out?
On 149?
No,
Oh,
no,
there's one up there.
no. And I got to the south station and I says, I think it's cold in here. The furnace was out again.
Oh, I guess
It's being handled, but the furnace was out again.
you
So
paid quite a lot for that.
Oh, you can leave. I'll get it, Tim. I'll get it.
do it, I can do it.
Well, we're not quite done yet.
so you know, so I just it's you know, and I went back to I went into the town report. And it was not obviously the last one, but it was the 2018 meeting when we were talking about putting money in the fund, you know, the government building maintenance fund. And I said that furnace has been up there since ever I can remember, and now here it is coming full circle.
Now,
So.
that was just, we just saw a bill for
For a circuit board
the
that failed on
plumber-
it,
The plumber.
Irving.
No. Didn't somebody else, what's his name,
Yes.
Scott
I thought
Densmore went in first?
Scott went in first, I
First,
thought.
and, yeah,
Not supposed to.
Not supposed to.
he went in. We signed a check for him, I think.
No, I'm not saying he didn't. He's.
Well, that might have been something else. I don't know.
No, it was down there, I think.
I
When-
thought it was.
when was
but
this?
I could be
I
wrong.
thought it was.
When was
And then we
this?
pulled in somebody else,
And
didn't
then,
we?
then a day or two later, or the next day, Sunday, you had a plumbing company come in and do it.
That's way beyond me.
Yeah, was that, we discussed it.
I think I said I didn't think it needed to come out of government buildings.
That was a month ago. That was that.
That
was
was
the
a
circuit
while
board.
ago.
That was
Right.
Irving. That was Irving.
Oh, that was your,
This was like this weekend.
okay.
But
No, I know that.
But Scott Dinsmore didn't get paid. He happened to have I thought someone said Scott went in and he happened to have a circuit board and he put it in and we paid him.
Nope. Nope, that was an Irving gig. So, but anyways, no, that was an Irving gig. So anyways,
So
but
what do you think it is? It's the,
It's probably the furnace.
it's way above my pay grade, but just letting the selectmen know that, I mean, that was mentioned last year at town
it's on
meeting,
its way
and
out.
now it's coming full circle, so.
Is that propane or
Propane.
Propane.
So let it fire.
So it may be getting close to time to replace that, so don't be surprised to see the whole thing being replaced.
If
Yeah,
it's
so-
getting close, I think we
Dumping a
wanna
lot
do
of
it
money
before,
into it. It's not
Right.
feasible.
into this year, before.
Oh, I agree, but
so who do we have look at it then?
For the next heating system, season starts,
I
so.
that's
believe
okay.
it's Irving.
Yeah.
Because I believe.
You don't want to forget about it and have it.
But again, the chief,
All Irving?
no, chief's handling it.
Oh, he is,
The chief,
okay.
oh yeah, the fire department's handling it. I'm just wanting to let you guys know that the heat did go out again, so don't be surprised to see a
Request.
request.
Well, heating season's almost over.
Yeah.
Thankfully, yes.
Thank God.
They'll have to,
So,
Get that right.
they'll have to open the door and get along without it.
well, That's what we did. Luckily the temperatures came up. So, but I mean, there's some meds in the ambulance that can't go below
Right.
50 degrees. So,
Right.
you know,
Oh,
that's
yeah.
if the heat goes out, we have to shuttle the ambulances around, stuff like that, and put stuff that's not going to freeze. Turn the electric heaters on for the office and stuff like that, so we don't lose
There's
pipes.
been a campfire
stuff like that.
going
So
in there or something.
I could put a barrel fire in there. Won't be a big idea.
Yeah.
Come on.
Maybe something would happen when we get in the building. But anyways, we need non-publics.
Yes.
C and B.
Well, a couple things, Naomi, before we go non-public. We talked about the shrubs at gazebo coming out.
Oh, thank you. The shrubs at the gazebo.
Goodbye.
Yeah.
Well,
Everything?
So what Sherry and I have talked, thank you for bringing it up, I forgot. Benji's gonna go in and take, down the gazebo, only 'cause A, it's still mud season, but B, I mean, they need to finish. And so in doing that, we've talked about the force, there's a little parking space off to the side. And right now, I don't even know that I'd go walk down East Road and take a step up the bank into the step up into the gazebo from East Road, because East Road is just way too busy. So in doing that, we talked about maybe making a paved, like they did at the
Walkway.
at the stone building, make a paved, but make this a couple of spots for handicap and let it come up, and then possibly have the gazebo so that they could get in that side maybe.
Right.
You know, so that, but, you know, it's just, if we could get handicap accessibility to the gazebo from that parking area, I think it would be well worth it. The other thing is, I mean, we're buying a beautiful, nice, white, brand-new gazebo. Why are we gonna hide it?
Oh, absolutely.
So I think, this is just me, which I don't have a vote. Benji wouldn't have to be worrying about all the shrubs and all the plants if we just took everything and maybe leveled it out, cleaned it up, made a nice area
To get
for
in there
that.
anyway.
Then, in time, put back some smaller,
Oh,
slow.
smaller, manageable
Something that's
stuff.
not gonna get.
Dwarf type of shrub.
Well, I think
that
we
are
could
gonna
take
grow.
it, I honestly just take everything out of there like there was nothing there.
Yes.
And just, he doesn't have to worry about, because you're bound to take the excavator and swing and knock something over and
It's
dig
gonna have to
something up.
get moved around in there, so I mean,
And
those things are
there
so
may
close,
be a
it's
little
gonna
bit of
run 'em over
shuffling
anyway.
to move it so that it would line up to the parking lot a little bit, but if we just go in and, I talked to Peter, and Peter wanted me to just run it by the board, which Sherry and I did talk Friday.
Stockhouse, Peter Stockhouse.
Yeah, Peter Stockhouse. So, if we just took everything out of there, gazebo included, and leave it open, I think
And go
what we're
back in.
buying is gonna be very attractive. And at that point, Peter may have a little bit of time to do up some quick, not plant flowers, but some quick to make it look good for
4th of July.
4th of
You could just
July.
put some
Yeah, I said-
annuals in for the hot.
You know, you don't
Yeah,
wanna,
you don't need to do anything quick, because there's a lot of tromping around that goes
Yeah.
over there.
you don't
so.
wanna hide it, and the other thing
No, I
is
don't
you
wanna
put
hide it.
shrubbery around it, and it's more for moisture to get at it.
Well, nobody trimmed the shrubs for a long time.
So I think-
So,
It
so
was 10
the
years
shrubs
ago.
go up and they kind of poof because it was all, you know.
And then,
But I
Does
just
that-
think if we
Does
just.
that
flatten
include
it-
the shrubs, like right now, you walk out, the walkway to East Road? Those shrubs right there along
all
East
that,
Road too?
I take it all and make it
everything.
tabletop.
And like I said, make that whole pocket spot down there
I don't think
handicap.
there's anything
I mean, there's
small,
only like
but-
4 spaces
but,
there anyway.
If you want, I can go up and take a look if there's anything, but I don't think there's anything up there.
Put the gazebo in there, and then sometime next year or something, we'll
Yeah, you're gonna wanna do a memorial and a
stand back
shore.
and say, okay, what do we want?
Yep.
You know, you're probably gonna wanna do some type
Let
of
it sit there for a
memorial.
year.
Yeah, well,
See
This-
what-
but I
It's
think
gonna
that-
settle.
People don't
next
want
winter.
anything.
I think that paved
Gonna
little
shuffle.
walkway to go up there if you have somebody with a wheelchair.
Yeah, well, I'm
make it
thinking that the
easy.
handwork can be done
Yeah,
when
This
we
summer.
pave,
yeah, that's
Yeah,
what I'm
when
saying.
Next year,
Well, no, if they.
they're not gonna get it all done this year, I don't think.
I don't know, I did just,
What, the
Mention it to
gazebo,
them
doing all
today.
the site work?
All the road bond pavement stuff.
But they get some done.
This was mentioned at another meeting that I'd been to, and the only reason why I wouldn't want to change where the opening is to the gazebo is that everything is there set up. The stone benches are there. It's all
The stone benches can get moved around.
Well, I know the benches can be moved, but the people sit there to watch what's going on, and you can't, you're not gonna be able to see inside. You're gonna have a banister.
There's banisters all the way around it. There's also various
there isn't.
openings all the way around it.
No, there's
There's
two
two
openings,
Yeah.
one in the front and one in the
You can
back.
put more than two in there. You can have them do that
We
when they
can't
move
do
it.
that now.
Why?
It's already been ordered.
It's already been ordered.
So.
Yeah, but they can change the location of the banister
You
when
can-
they're putting it together.
You also have, you also have seats. You wanna see, you know what I'm saying?
No, I don't, because
I mean, you
gotta-
where the benches are now, you're looking right at the side of the gazebo.
Yeah.
You're not looking.
Well,
into
there's
the-
one in the front too. There's one over
Yeah, but
here.
none of them you can see into the opening.
Yeah, you see
But
the
the way the
banister, you see the
people-
railing.
Yeah, but the way that people look at it is from this way.
Oh,
What
they-
way?
Like,
Side
From
of it.
what way?
The seats all
from
the
the
way around.
front way, the way that it's,
From East Road or 114?
right now, it goes,
East
okay,
Road.
Come in
here's the
East
hill.
Road.
Here's the hill.
From East Road.
Here's where you usually are, over here, when you're doing the
Right.
July
Oh, you're-
4th. You
you're
know what I'm
talking-
saying? And where do the people all sit when
All
they
over.
come here?
I don't think that's gonna make any difference.
No, they sit all over.
'Cause they sit
only
down
thing
there
is if
looking that way to watch the fireworks.
Right.
And then they
Yeah,
sit there.
but if you're sitting and watching at the DJ, where do you
Yeah, but they
sit?
sit on all sides of it watching the DJ. I've been down there.
I
to
don't
do
think
that.
you could spin
But
that.
if you're gonna put a ADA accessible walkway in for people, you're gonna have to have one of the openings on the side where they're coming up.
From East
I
Road.
just leave it and just
Off-
turn it.
Not East Road, but coming off.
When it gets there, you
East
can
Road
orient
parking
it.
lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you go to set it, you can orient it any way you
Parking lot.
want.
Yeah.
I mean, you can pivot it any way you want when you go to set it.
Or you could pivot it the way it is and just pave a walkway around it. Yeah.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can do that either.
But, whatever, but I think we can cross that bridge when I
Yeah.
think it's closer.
Well, it's gonna be
Yeah, but
closer
it's
'cause
gonna
he's
be here
over
June
there
8th.
Tomorrow.
Oh, no, yeah, well, I'm not saying that, but
When the thing
the
comes
site
and
work's not
sets.
gonna change. It's when we plant the
Building
actual building.
itself.
When
or
you
the
put the
actual-
building
When the
down
building
there,
goes
then
Site
you
work's
can
not gonna
orient
change
the
at all.
building whichever way you need to.
So what you're saying is, if he's doing the site work, while he's there with the excavator, he's gonna wanna do that walkway.
Oh, yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, he can do the
But I mean,
walkway.
as far as.
But when the building comes here, then we can talk about where the opening is.
Yeah, where the openings are.
And then you can orient the building by turning it whichever way to.
Because he won't be paving until after the celebration anyway.
Right, exactly,
So-
in that area,
Yeah.
right.
Okay, so that was one thing. The other thing was, when I was over there with Ben the other day, the kids from the school were all over the place up there. And actually, one of the spindles was broken out and thrown on the ground.
That's been
Normal.
broken out for a while.
That's normal.
No, this has just happened.
Yeah, there was a bunch of them that have been broken out for a while. I came by one day and they were there, the next day they're all broken out.
Yeah, but this was just happened in the last week. They yanked one out.
Oh, the kid,
so-
it's
They're
the
not gonna have that
after,
opportunity
it's
anymore.
the
Well, I
after
said
school.
to Naomi,
It's
ma-
the
yeah,
after
it is.
school, it's the after school project, so not.
I
so
said maybe, she could write a letter to the school, or call them.
Done that.
Maybe
We
we
did that
can
last
put
year.
up, maybe we can fence off that whole section and just say kids can play in their own ballpark.
You would just electrify the thing.
That's town property, it's
You-
not school property.
You'd find him tomorrow,
But, okay, so when is it happening, Sherry? What time?
June 7th.
No.
No.
What?
When is what happening?
Like,
The vandalism?
the vandalism, do you know?
Well, I was there in the
Right in
afternoon,
daylight.
and the kids were climbing up on the trees and swinging off of them.
They do that all the time during that celebration.
That's kids being
Picking
kids.
them out of the trees all the time.
Yeah.
That's kids being kids.
That's good.
Yeah, and they,
You can't, you're not gonna
you
change
know
it.
that for a fact, that one of them.
That's why you gotta make it secure.
Unless you
Plus
hook
they
up-
got,
unless you hook up
plus
four
down there,
bodies
they've
to it.
got the,
I just
you
said.
know, different functions.
Put in it.
Charge on it. I don't know.
Well, I've seen
Point.
I've seen a bunch of kids walking on the bench and then walking on the top of the bench, like it was a tightrope.
Well,
Okay, and the
like a
other,
bal- like a balancing
Hmm.
beam.
Yeah.
and one other thing while we're there,
Maybe Officer
I
Friendly
mentioned
can
the
come.
trees at the town hall, Ben said he'd get them cut, but also the trees at the library, those poplars along that parking wall there where the tennis court is, 5 or 6 of them are all rotted halfway down now. So I said, it's a big liability. I mentioned something to Mike, and he said, I can't do anything, that's up to the selectmen. Well, I think you better get them down before you have to pull a tree down on
The
somebody's
last
head.
time that we moved trees around the library, it was contracted out. I remember that.
Oh, these are the
No,
ones
these are
along
at
the
the ten-
fence.
these
These
are
are the
on
ones
tennis
along the
court.
fence at the
These are right
tennis
along
court.
the
Yeah, these are on the
Yeah.
tennis
Right,
court.
is it gonna,
So it's probably ours.
we gotta see.
Yeah.
All right.
5 or 6 of them
See how
there
much
for
time-
sure, but they,
Is he gonna take the ones down at town hall?
yeah.
Have him do those other ones?
Well, the ones that are rotted, but I, really, if you take a look at it,
Yep.
See
he
how
doesn't
much,
have to do it all, but they all, probably all ought to come out of
see
there.
how much time he's got to do
Yeah,
it.
what he's got for time.
All the
I
other
don't wanna,
stuff.
I didn't wanna bring that up in front of,
All,
Anybody.
all the other work he's got, you know.
So,
See if he can fit it in.
Yeah, I mean, we can talk to him.
yep, okay.
whatever.
All set?
Yep.
All right. C. Move to go non-public under RSA 91A3, Roman numeral 2, C.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We'll be going into a B afterwards for employment, and then we'll be adjourning. So, thank you. Have a good night. John?